Oh, it says I'm live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all you may come in contact with will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And that I hope that each and every one of you are doing the best you can under the circumstances. So, hi, Robed Rebel and Travis. Sup, brother? Good evening to all of you. Good morning. Um, I'll tell you, we live in some interesting times, don't we? I just, just interesting times. Um, as my continuing joke goes, in my 69 years of living, continuing my continuing joke, um, you know, and it's I've always watched human behavior. L- Growing up on the carnival, there's a lot of time that you have that they ain't nothing to do but just watch people go by. You run your ride and people go round and round in circles, or they go around in circles this way, or and some of them go around back and puke, and just normal course of events. Cotton candy, candy apples, and going round and round will come sometimes. Yeah, succumb to folks. Um, Yeah, face timing you across the states is definitely I call it strange. Yeah. But I have been against this time change for a while, right? And for the last couple of years, I have pooey, that's easy for you to say. I have refused to turn my clocks forward or backwards. I mean, I just know. I stay on Eastern Standard Time. And it's been an experiment of mine for myself because I wanted to see if there was any difference. Because now I have since I'm retired, I don't care what time it is most of the time, you know what I mean? Most of the time I don't care what time it is. Is it daylight? Yeah, okay. So um but now the time is only relative as to if there's something I want to watch or there's a show coming on or something like that. So time isn't relative to me in any other way. Now, when I had a job and had to be on time and all that kind of stuff, so everything is regulated with time. Time this, time for that. Time to take a poo, time to go to time to go to break, time to, time. You just made a burger filled with cheese and pepperoni and covered it. Oh, hush. A Navajo fry bread. I haven't had fry bread in a couple of years now because I haven't been able. There aren't some of the powwows that I normally would go to. They haven't had them, and I was looking forward to this one this fall, and they canceled it down here locally. So I haven't had fry bread. So hush about that. Hush about that fry bread now. But so this time warp thing. And so every spring you spring forward, right? So you have to adjust to the new time. Your mind has to adjust to the difference in daylight versus what time it is. And oh man, I thought it was 5 o'clock and it's 6 o'clock or something. You know what I mean? So you have to adjust to it twice a year. And when I had to change time before and keep up with it because of my job and other things, right? The jumping forward and backwards and the this and you gain an hour. No, the hell you don't. Oh, everybody gains an hour in the fall. Hey, Chloe, is that's the mind trick? See, well, it's going to be lighter later on in the evening, so you can do more things, so you can be more tired and be more wore out, and so you can stretch your brain and everything to the limit, right? Okay, so this is really good for humankind. Or should nature be, it's daylight, therefore doesn't matter what time it is, it's either daylight or it isn't. So time is made up now for many years. And for those of you who may know or have heard about Indian time, it's like, I'll see you on Wednesday. And folks say, okay, what time on Wednesday? Oh, after lunch. Okay. So you say, well, I'll see you after lunch. Okay. So that might mean to somebody like 12:30 or 1 o'clock, right? I'll see you after lunch. Well, and, at dark 30, the people are like, you said you'd be here after lunch. And it's like 8 o'clock. Well, it is after lunch, isn't it? Well, yeah, but it's, past supper. Well, we knew it would be after lunch. We just didn't know when. So this idea of Indian time, well, we made it today, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, then we're here. So it did, but you said you would be here by 5. Well, it's 8 o'clock. We're here. We're safe. Everything's good. But you said, oh, the arguments and the people and the over the years, So now that I'm retired and can look at this time thing. So it's, we're forced into this time regime, which guess what? Quite frankly, is mind control. It is not some kind of big conspiracy theory. They're controlling our minds by controlling the time that we get somewhere or the time that we have to do. Hey, Alex, how are you? Yes, high blessings. Yeah, I missed the 20 mark. I was watching in the football game and I forgot. Um, but yeah, I was trying to get on before the 20 mark. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it for 11:40. It'll be 20 minutes after the 20. So 20 times is 14. But anyway, so smoke if you got them. I hear in prayers of Canada, our time doesn't alter. It's nice. Yeah, well, that's cool. That's just really cool. So, but in my retirement stage, so um, it's daytime, it's nighttime. Okay, Well, when you get, well, I need to get there before dark. Okay, so you see the sun going down. Does it matter what time it is? No, because around dark 30 is I need to be there. Go to the store, do whatever, contact somebody. Just flour, salt, and baking powder. See, I don't have any lard. I know I don't do those kinds of things well, Travis. I make really good stews and stuff like that, but man, that sounds easy for some folks, but I would mess that up. For those of you who don't remember, I've talked about my cooking skills. Dark city, hell yeah. Just vegetable oil all then. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have to check into that. Um, but the idea though that so not y'all know I am a conspiracy theorist, but that's beside the point, right? But in this idea though that so well we all get home earlier, or it's going to stay dark later in the evening, so when we get home we can have more leisure time. Okay, sometimes I think a monkey is smarter than me, Travis. Honest. We need all learn to make that. Yeah. um See, and here's the biggest thing. I will forget big time. So, but so with this time in time, I might remember or learn how to do it. Oh, everything is time related, but it is. So, the corporate structure has structured the times for things to happen. Um, they have structured what times programming will start in the evenings. The evening news has become used to come on at 6 o'clock. Now you can some of these local stations you can get on and the evening news will start at 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the evening, and it's like and they keep telling the same stories over and over again for like 2 hours, like they don't have any other programming. But anyway, so the mind jab with this and the time warp. So for all those folks who gain an hour or lose an hour, depending on what it is, your mind has to jump ahead or somehow magically lose an hour last night, right? That everybody gained an hour of sleep. No, you didn't. They mind control, right? And that, oh, and the local folks, and oh, well, the time's going to change. So now it's going to get darker earlier. Well, duh. It gets darker earlier in the wintertime anyway. But so now your brain has to jump from it's getting dark from 8 o'clock, maybe 7:30 to now it's 6:30. Whoa. So your brain has to, guess what? Go through a time warp to adjust to the differences of light, the times, the conditions. With you look out the window and go, well, crap, it's dark already. Well, yeah, but oh, that's right, we went through the time change, right? So everybody's brains right now are going through a time warp because of this gaining, losing, moving their clocks and everything. Uh, hey, Johan, how are you? So, um, but in this, there are folks who are saying, well, you know, our state wants to go to daylight savings time and just stay there. There are a bunch of them. So here's the thing, I don't know if the state of Georgia is one of them, but to the point though. So where I live, they're going to require me to set my clock to their time, right? So I understand time zones because as the earth turns, there's 24 hours, it travels at a certain speed, and there are time zones, okay? And they're sort of relative, but and arbitrarily one side or the other of the line, like down here where I live, it's an hour's drive to another time zone. So I've traveled into Alabama Central Time Zone a lot in traveling and stuff. And so you travel over there. I don't set my clock back or forward or whatever, I just am aware I'm in central time now. All right. So I'm still going to get home at the same time in my time, but I'm acting in while I'm there in central time in their time zone. Okay. So I've always thought this was kind of quirky, especially for folks who live within a certain mileage of a time zone, right? Alabama Georgia state line and all the way up right through Tennessee. And, so there are folks that literally live, like 20 minutes one side or the other of the time zone. So on one side, it gets dark at 6:30 and you cross over to another county. The time has changed because it's now central time zone and it gets dark at 5:30 at night, and then it gets dark at 4:30 at night. It's like really weird, but people get up earlier, right? The schools change their time. Instead of everybody moving to a different time zone, they say, well, we're instead of starting school at 8 o'clock, we're going to start school at 7 o'clock. What? Yeah. So when you get home, you'll still have a little extra daylight, but because of the time zone difference and we're right on the edge and all this kind of stuff, it's that. But so rather than everybody change their time, the schools and businesses operate at different times. So they adjust to the time zone. I don't mean the time, for, the spring forward, fall back thing. So time is relative depending on where you live and depending on the zone in which you live. Hey, Tracy B, living on Central Time. Living on Tulsa time. Living on Tulsa time. Anyway, hey, Deborah, how are you? Would you cut the end off a blanket and sew it onto the other end to get a longer blanket? Yeah, but there are many Native Americans that would say that, you know, uh, you know, to try to extend it, you cut the blanket off and sew it to the other end, uh, or rather, I teleported. Yeah, absolutely. But so, and I've had uh, much love right back to you, darling. I hope everything's going well for you. For everybody, I do. And so, looking at just some of this craziness in the world, I have wondered about this time thing for a long time, having crossed, as a puppeteer and traveling into different time zones, and living down here kind of on both sides, and travel over there, coming back, So it's just been interesting for myself and how I deal with it, right? Does my brain go forward? Because it's an hour difference. So you go over there and you go over and say, well, it's 5 o'clock. No, wait, wait, no, it's only 4 o'clock here. It's okay. So I can adjust that easily. But so for other folks, but right now, everybody has their whole body got adjusted and finally moved forward an hour. And now, after so many months, their brain has to get rattled, shake it off, babies, shake it off, smoke another one if you have to, and wake up and go, oh, I see, we're in the new time zone again, right? We have just time warped. Let's do the time warp again. Everybody sing along, right? So I'm in a funky mood tonight, let me tell you, or this morning. Not quite. It's 1 minute till this morning. Maybe maybe I gain time. I lose time anyway. Right, me too. Time and me have always been an issue. I've always worked second shift, because I was always late and never on time. You see, so this time thing has been an issue for me for a long time. Yeah, Tim Curry. Let's do the time warp again. You know, but yes. So um somehow in all of this though, they're trying to control our thoughts by all these other methods. And people, well, I wouldn't go along with that. They tell me to do something, I tell them to stick it. But they do this time change, twice a year that honestly affects folks. They don't want anybody to talk about it, right? Well, you'll adjust to it, right? But the overall damage in the long run, it's like, wait a minute, that we somehow have to time warp twice a year to keep up with what they want us to do. It's to help us. We have more time in the evenings. Maybe we're not supposed to have more time in the evenings. Well, it's still light outside. Let me go outside and work in the garden more. And you wake up and you're tired as but tui. I was going to say a wordy dirt. Um, you know, um, when maybe you should, like when the sun goes down, depending on whatever time the sun goes down, you should be like going into that the sun goes down mode yourself, not continue to push it so you have an extra hour of daylight. You know what I mean? Because ask dairy farmers and folks like that, doesn't matter. They will still need, regardless if it's an hour earlier or later, the cows still moo and need to have their. Hey, Castle, how are you? I do the time worm almost every morning. uh, uh, Gotcha. So but anyway, so I mean, I'm sure some of you have kind of sort of maybe thought about this, but it's like, now, I'm not necessarily comparing this to the current situation of, getting the jab kind of thing, but in a way, they coerce us into doing this thing twice a year. I hate it. There's still other people who hate it, to those folks who look at this idea of time and go, why are we doing this? Um, but they can have convinced us that yes, I have more time in the evening. That yes, and it's like, but is it doing you any good? I mean, seriously, physically, mentally, and then you have to do the mind jump twice a year. Your whole body has to readjust. I mean, honestly, oh, but it's this and that, and it doesn't really hurt. Seriously, calm down. Just look at it. Um, but we agree to it. And we go, oh yeah, come on, everybody, move your times, and we get an extra hour. Yay. No, you don't. It ain't extra. You know what I mean? They have connived us and tortured us into believing that, ooh, we get more time. Now, honestly, quite frankly, isn't that big time mind control? Without going into some kind of CIA conspiracy, ain't that big time mind control? Not just a couple of places, but in a bunch of places. See, so anyway, and I was late with the 20. But here's the thing, um, Rebel. I don't think enough of us argue about it or have brought it up, right? Because everybody agrees because they have been mind warped into believing that extra time in the evening is good for them, is my point, right? So but everybody's convinced, yeah, I got more time when I get home. It's light more. I mean, so a lot of people see, quote, the advantage of it without, actually looking at what it's doing. Everybody on the planet is jet lagged because the time zone has changed. You see what I'm saying? Well, everybody, but not me. I'm still on the regular time, right? Which I'm just going to say is natural time. Um, and the reason I say natural time, because in the wintertime, when it's when it's more dark in December, and now that the sun's coming through my windows because it's going into winter, I got a lot of solar, and then my windows are full blown, which is going to bring up a little story here. Hey Deborah, how are you? But so the way I've orientated my passive solar house, right, and many of you have seen the outside of the house. Well, where the windows are, the boards between them, they're my clock, okay? Because where the sun is and where the shadow lands on the floor, I can tell what time it is, regardless of a clock, okay? Because hopefully the sun is basically in the same place. So my house is a sundial, all right? And so I can look at where the shadow is on the floor as it progresses, meaning where the sun goes. And I'm like, well, it's after 1 o'clock. Well, how do you know? Well, because the lines on the floor are straight up and down. They're parallel. Well, why is that? Well, because my house is cocked a little bit to the southwest, so I can get the east side of the house gets a little bit more sun. And I'm glad I did it, by the way. But so 1 o'clock by the clock is like 12 o'clock to the house because everything is straight up and down, right? So I understand this. So I go, oh, look where the things are. It's 1 o'clock because the lines are straight. Okay, so and it's every day. I'm within a few minutes of watching the shadows. The house is a sundial, especially in the wintertime. So that doesn't change regardless of what the clock does, right? So, but society says I need to check the clock, even though this my sundial is the same thing. Uh, Squawking. Put your hand on your hips. What are you all dancing to? I want to do it. I've been kind of sort of dancing all day, um, but so with this time warp thing, I'm curious. I have brought this up for the last 24 minutes, and it is now 12:07 a.m. time on a Monday morning here in Southwest Georgia. My pleasantries to all of you folks out there. It is the November the 8th of 2021. And I honestly do hope that everybody's doing well out there with the craziness that's going around. Um, and so Oh, the time warp. I got you. Yeah, I kind of, progress from that, but I can still hear the music in the background in the back of my head. Bum bum ba da dum da da. Yeah, I still got it. Hey, Miss Pearl, was thinking about you earlier today. Couldn't remember what, but it, it was good. But so with this time warp thing, so um, honestly, does the time change to you? Does it affect you? Simply, the wormhole dance. Very good. So do you hate it or love the time change? What's your opinion? I think it's a mass. Uh, it's a mind. You know, it's a foo bar. you know, Messed up beyond all recognition. But the idea that they get the whole world in their hands, they get the whole wide world in their hands, they get the whole world in their hands, they get the whole world in their hands. They got the you and me, brother. In their hands, they got the you and me, sister. In their hands, they got the you and me, brother. In her hands, they got the whole world in her hands. All together now. I made fudge and tomato southern. Oh, chickpeas and oh my goodness gracious, yum yum. But so my basic thought about this is that what can we do about it? Well, if it really bothers us, we really should say something. Honestly, because we should tell people, I hate this every year. Why don't we just leave it alone? So there are I want to say 12, 17, something, I don't know. There's some states out there that want to move the time forward to Eastern Daylight Time, if that were, you know, permanently. So their state would jump a whole hour ahead and stay there. Okay. Okay. You know, I guess it would be like the states. I think it's Indiana or a couple of states that when the time changes, they don't, right? They stay at normal time. So there are folks who don't want to change, and then there are folks that want to change for all eternity and not back. You know what I'm saying? So half of the year both of these states would be right. So the states that didn't change, they'd be right for 6 months out of the year or whatever the time is. And then the states that went ahead and stayed there, they'd be right. The time would, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? But if one is to look at the world and say, well, they're not manipulating time, are they? Think about it. I mean, just this basic concept of when do you want to start? What do we establish as 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whatever time it is, right? And we're going to go by this standard. Now, look, I don't really care, at least not at this particular point in my life, because I think it's stupid. But the fact that these folks are having these movements to do this and that they have the right, the whole state has the right to either move forward or jump back or do neither or do both or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, it's 12:11 here, Rebel. Um, but here's the thing, if conspiracy or not, they're manipulating our minds and the time. Well, no, they're not. Yes, they are. Basic symbol. But what's their, don't know whatever their idea is behind this, but the fact that they are manipulating time, you got to say, yes, they are. you know, so it's up to us in my point of view, it's up to us as to how we want to accept it. Now, when I was working all the time, I had to accept it. I had to move forward. I had to, but in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I don't agree. I'm still on Indian time. I still understand. So I'm, I have resisted this time change a lot over the years. But so I'm just obstinate, maybe, but to me it was unnatural. It still is. So I would still say, regardless of what they tell you the time is, go by your clock. No, so when I go to Alabama, or in the Panhandle of Florida, I have to go to Central Time. I accept it because when I'm there, that's what time it is. Okay. So when in Rome, do as the Romans. So, but for the United States to change to Eastern Daylight, to daylight savings, in Day's world down here, I have the choice not to. Like a state has the choice not to, or to do whatever. So my choice is still mine. And I think if you keep that in your heart, whatever they do with the time manipulation, because it is a mind mess, okay? People know that, yes, it is, you know. I don't want to make a big argument out of it, but quite simply, they're manipulating time. And for us to change in it. Now, if you've ever traveled, a great distance and, you've got jet lag, that'll mess up your equilibrium, your sense of direction. I mean, it will mess with you. Okay. So, it's only happened to me once that I changed that many time zones. Um, but the effect was very strange indeed. So people who fly between time zones and all this, they get jet lag, they have this, and I personally, I think I've seen some of these people that have traveled a lot like that between multiple time zones, and they're a little strange in the head. Um, I can't, because I think their brain hasn't been in one spot long enough to like adjust to that time zone and say, well, I'm off on another trip again. And, and so there's just something about their brains that, I don't know, it's just different because they've had to do all these adjustments. Okay. We're coming up on a 20, live in the moment wherever. Yeah. I take a nap when yep. So, having, traveled to other time zones for the day or for the weekend or whatever, then coming back, it's still daylight out. Yes or no? It's still, so I try not to involve myself with the current time zone only in that it relates to there. So, what time do you close tonight? Well, because it gets dark here early, we close at 7 o'clock. Where in, across the line, they'd be open till 8 or 9 because it stays light longer. So, okay, I get this. In Tullahoma, Tennessee is where I'm thinking about. I mean, in the wintertime, it gets dark at like 5 o'clock. I'm serious. I was like, what? Because it's 6 o'clock, like a 30-mile drive east. Okay, so it's very strange. But my point about this, these people who live in this sort of gray zone, um, they get used to it. They get up earlier in the daytime to go do stuff. At 6 o'clock in the morning, they're all outside and doing stuff. Where just 30 miles away on the other side of the time zone, folks are still in bed snoring. They haven't had their coffee yet. So, but they adjust to the outside time, to nature's time, regardless of what the clock says. So I find it interesting. So, but in the manipulation of the big time, uh, you know, Greenwich Mean Time, right? GMT. So, what does that do for the rest of us? Should we go along with it? Should we speak up? I've been speaking up about it for years, but not that my point of view matters to many. I love you all for being here. Alexander, Johan, uh, a week to adjust. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 6 hours difference. I bet that messes with you, don't you? I've only had two time zones that I've had to adjust to at once. that quickly. So I can only relate to, like being in and out of the, one time zone a lot and have energy to do it, even if it's dark. Yeah, thank you, Johan. I agree with you. The other night when the sun's going down, um, I have done extremely well on my porch, by the way, to slide this in because I'm 69 and I can. I have to throw that time thing in there just for the hell of it. But um the trench I need to dig for my footer for my porch out there has been a pain in the booty. I mean clay, I mean solid clay for like, and for 6 feet long, I've had to dig it, 2.5 feet deep. And me and my bad back and old age, but I've got it done. I've got it straightened out, and ready to pour cement. But in that, though, talking about time, as the time went down, I wasn't quite finished with the end of the trench, and I didn't want to quit. So guess what? I turned on a light and worked for another half hour, an hour into quote the darkness to finish the task. Okay, so we have lights, for goodness sake, and for some of I always thought it was cruel as a child with the daylight savings time, to get up, and especially since they changed it for school kids, that it's dark 30 outside when they go to school, and they go, yeah, but they have more light at the end of the day. Well, what am I giving them some light to get on a school bus, for God's sakes? I had to adjust from it being, yeah. Oh, yeah, the time zone and the temperature, yep. I look 50. Oh, thank you. No, I turned 69 in September, and it's my running joke this year, just for the hell of it, like because 'cause I'm almost 70, which, like, crap, that's a big step, but I'm taking it lightly, actually, and I'm getting a lot of stuff done, um, and made some more gains today, so, um it is 12. It's a 20. Okay, my friends. Smoke if you got them. Here's to all those who don't. And this is to the universe, and that folks will, regardless of what time it is, but it is 20 after. Don't care what the hour is, right? It's 20 somewhere. Here's the thing, regardless of what hour it is, there will always be a 20 minutes after the hour. The old hippie, it, I remember, for some of you old folks, and old hippies, the fabulous furry freak brothers. Okay. Um, it is better in times of uh, no, it is better to have weed in times of no money than it is to have money in times of no weed. So it's like you can have all the money in the world, but if you ain't got no weed, man, but if you got some weed, you can be poor as hell and you're happy, right? But so the fabulous furry freak brothers. But so what time is it? Does it really matter what time it is? Yeah, pills suck. Oh, by the way, I have a couple of things. So it's been 40 minutes into this that I've talked about the time thing, and for the next few, I'm still in that time zone mode. But I would like to see people take a little bit more awareness of what they're at. Okay, we've got enough conspiracy stuff going on, but you know How many people don't like it? Now there are politicians who voice their opinion, but we really care what they want, right? Are their interest really for us, or is it their interest? You know. So, and we need to call them on it if we don't like it. So if everybody wants to go along and do it, okay, I don't got no problem. But how I deal with that time, however, whoever wants to set the time, you know what I mean? Don't care. Um, but I would have, if I was working for a living, I would have to be a slave to it no matter what time it was. Okay. I mean, first shift, second shift, some businesses start at 7, some business start at 8, some business take an hour for lunch, so, but to the point though, time is made wherever you go by whomever decides to do it. You know what I mean? But the sun here in my house, and I know when it's 1 o'clock by normal Eastern Standard Time, I know what time it is because I can see by the lines on the floor. My house is um, is a solar clock, and I can't remember the name of it. What solar clock? Hey, Ken. Hey, Isby. Um, a sundial. Thank you very much, whoever said it out loud. But yeah, Isby been in my house. Yeah. But so the sun always shows me what time it is. To Native Americans and Native peoples, and to nature, the cycle is the same. It might be. I noticed a couple of years ago that the sun was wobbling, and I reported about it because what I did was I put cardboard in the window over here, right? And at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd go over and I would draw a line along where the shadow was at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? By the sun. Okay. Now, the next day at 9 o'clock, I'd look where the shadow was on the card in the window. And sometimes it wouldn't be touching the line at all. There would still be a shadow. And then at other times, the line was shown and there was a lot of gap and like the shadow, it was early. So I noticed that there could be as much as 30 minutes difference between one day and another. So there was like 9 o'clock in the morning and a really dark line, and then the lines on either side of it where, 2 days later it would be early, meaning that um, the shadow would already be there. And so at 9 o'clock the shadow was all actually at the 9:30 mark. So and then the next day it would be 9 o'clock and it wouldn't be to the line yet, and at 9:30 the shadow would finally get to where I had marked the original 9 o'clock mark. So it's like, and it fluctuated, and for a year and a half I can only do it in the summer, in the wintertime, because there aren't shadows in the summertime. But I calculated this for 2 years and watched it, and now it there I couldn't tell you from day to day if the if this 30 minutes of either side of 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and I monitored it during the day because it's right there at the window. And look at the clock. That's why I wouldn't turn my clocks forward, because I was monitoring what I was doing by um, um, my solar clock. But so anyway, and that's when I started doing earth wobble videos. If you look back a few years, because that's how I was plotting it, was I could tell that the sun was wobbling and doing all kinds of weird stuff, because the shadow was never at 9 o'clock every day. Maybe 2 days in a row it'd be straight on the mark, and then it would be later, earlier. It was never 9 o'clock every single day. But anyway, see, that to me is science. That to me is proof. I've explained it to other people and I've shown the charts and stuff, and they go, well, that doesn't really matter. Well, but see, they set time to where at 9 o'clock every day it's supposed to be this, and not necessarily. So even the earth and the sun and nature kind of varies a little bit. but it's usually pretty close. You know what I mean? So the first day of fall is around my birthday in September. But is it really the first day of fall? It was hotter than hell, and the humidity was like 98%. So, but was it really fall? Well, somewhere it was further up north. Hey, Katniss, how are you? Had headaches as long as I can remember. Yeah, I used to have headaches like that too. Uh, yeah, fancy meeting all y'all here. I'm I'm soon to go to war here with some critters in my house. The spiders are like literally dropping out of the sky. Um, so I'm gonna have to go to war with the things. I hate to do that, but anyway. Um, but in this, in me, I got to look at stuff from all different kinds of yeah, energy shifts. Well, we've been getting some heavy duty bombardments from the sun too. We honestly have. Plus, we're rolling into the winter position, and I could tell by the shadows on my floor. And I told a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago. I said, the shadows should be further up across the floor. And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Usually by this time of the year, because I could tell I've been here, and for every month that the sun goes down in December, the shadow across my floor shifts, from against the edge, and you can watch it transverse across the floor almost all the way to the wall, in where it'll, the lowest part in December, right? And then you watch the shadow come back across the floor till springtime and the sun's overhead and there's no shadow on the floor. So I've been here for 30 some odd years now, 36 years of watching this. So I noticed when, gee whiz, it's November and the shadow is still like close to the wall. And we've only really got a little, November and into December to get the rest of the way across the floor and up the wall. Wait a minute. And then 2 days later, it was like the sun jumped the shadow on the floor jumped this far on the floor. I was like, what? Because I could tell because it was this far from the couch, right? And I was like, wow, it should be closer to the couch. 2 days later, I looked and the shadow was, the sun was on at the couch. And I was like, now I know it wasn't there the other day like that. Because I sit here and look at the floor and I'm observant, it jumped. So anyway, strange things going on is my point. An illegal drug that is highly frowned upon. You're guessing life will suck soon, I guess. Um, but the plants are feeling it. The energy of us going into wintertime. Um, so the earth can feel these changes. The earth is fixing to go into hibernation for us here in the northern hemisphere. So, and here's the thing that for, yeah, mine have been ringing in and out these last couple of days too. Um, if you got brown, it makes sticky. Yeah, I've got some wolf spiders, but I don't think I have any brown recluse. I've looked at them, and people say that's a brown. No, no, it ain't. Well, that's a brown. No, it ain't. But but here's the thing, you know, low pressure systems and high pressure systems have a tendency to change us and as well. So it's the air pressure, if it can affect low pressure systems like storms and stuff. So, you know, We've had some pretty strong storms with pressures and barometric pressures. That's what I'm thinking. So it's like going up a mountain and coming back down, and So, but anyway, um, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on around us. That's for sure. But here's the thing: I think for a lot of us, and I know that since I've been talking about it, um, now I go, wow, damn it, my ears are ringing. Where 4 or 5 years ago, holy shit, my ears are ringing. I must have something. There's something wrong with me. Gotta go to the doctor. I ain't been to the doctor and I can't remember. But my ears still ring, but I ain't taking medicine because of it. You know what I mean? So they don't ring all the time. So when they ring now, I go, there must be something going on in the universe. My ears are ringing like hell. So rather than oh my god, I'm dying or whatever or something, now I use it as a sign that something's going on. And I a few years ago I was panicked about it too. So now it just happens and I'm like, okay, well, here we go again, some more ear ringing. And the other night though, I was just like, I was fussing, cussing. Fucking I just got my ears ringing and I'm I was fussing, cussing, buddy, about it and the ears ringing and stuff, and keep the wolf spiders around. Yeah, but there's too many of them. Bisbee been in my house. There are too many spiders. There are too many spiders. And I have in my don't want to mess with them, hurt them kind of thing. Oh, and I mean they chase roaches around and stuff like that. So, but there's way when they start when the little ones are dropping out in front of you, and you can see them between you and the TV. One came down just earlier, just right beside me, like. And the ceiling is way the hell up there. It's like 12 feet from here to the ceiling up there, and it just come down this little string, like, oh boy, nah, you know. Yeah, you saw that happen, is be well, it's been happening too much. It's like raining little spiders. Nah, that's too many. Sorry. They're invading my space. And it's kind of creepy too, but it is funny. But I'm just not I'm not letting them get away with it. But I've been so focused when it was hot and everything and muggy, even doing anything inside the house was like tough for me. But with this cooler weather and everything, man, I've been doing stuff and getting stuff done. I'm really proud. My friend Rob was here today and took me to the store. My damn truck ain't running again. I don't know what's wrong with it now, but so he took me to the store and I got stocked up on dog food because I was pretty much good with everything else. So I don't know how long it's going to take me to diagnose my truck, but she will not start and run. So after spending all that money and doing the work on it, it's worse. But so I'll find it. I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, I'm stuck here at the house. So, uh, but I've got everything ready to pour concrete before it rains again, and I've got everything set, everything ready. So for me, this is about time. You see, I'm looking at things that need to get done. Well, since I went to town today, I have the time that I can pour this concrete before it rains again and so forth, and I can help this finish this project and get my yard back, versus saying, well, this can wait a little longer, I'll go fix the truck. Nah, I don't really have anywhere I need to go, so I'm going to work on the cement. So I'm choosing how to spend my time. See, this is related. So so right now, because I'm actually pissed because the truck was running fine and now it just didn't. I mean, it won't even start. So it's stuck out there in the yard, meh, in an awkward place. But um, so rather than being frustrated because it's not running, I choose to not spend my time over there, be frustrated, miss something, want to pound on it, throw a wrench. I'm going to go over here and work on this project and finish pouring the concrete, you see. So in my time, I'm choosing whether or not to get bent out of shape or to give me another day to work on this project that I've been, shoveling and digging and all this for. And whatever the hell's wrong with the truck can wait a day. There, it's not, it's time right this moment. See, so it's relative. Time is relative to who? It's only relative to like me, because I live in this time zone, or I live in my mindset. So people develop their own mind warp for how they use their own time. And then there are those politicians and governments and things that will tell us what time it is on whatever global scale we choose. But if we're flying between time zones, then that's only relative to the time zone we're in, you see. So now for folks who sit still and don't go anywhere, does the time really matter to them? You know, set your clock, set your watch to the watch or the clock at work, right? We all did it. Some still do. So whatever that watch says is what the clock says at work. It doesn't matter what any other clock, any other place, doesn't matter where the sun is, doesn't matter where the moon is. This watch, I'm pointing at my hand and y'all can't see it, but this watch and that clock at work are synchronous. So if I want to be on time, I better look at this clock, none other. Don't listen to the radio because this is the one it's set. So, but I tune myself into that time because I want to be to work on time, right? Or but whatever it is, or there's a wedding shower, or a baby shower, wedding, so some okay, doctor's appointment, whatever it is. So in that you set your time, but does the rest of the time matter? Well, if you've got all of the day off, you're looking around. That's the same spider that visited Miss Muffet. Um, the Kurds got away, David. The Kurds got it. Never mind. Tracy, it's okay, Hawkeye. It's supposed to be just be. Yeah. Oh, we had Granddaddy Longlegs down in Florida, and there were so many times Mom and Dad would come in to check on us boys, Danny and my brother and I, and our beds were end to end, right? And they'd flip on the light, open the door. Oh my God, there's a giant spider beside David on the wall. And I'd wake up and go, what? And there'd be this freaking giant Granddaddy Longlegs, like right on the wall where I was sleeping, right? And I'm like, what the hell? So now we move the bed out. Do we find the spider? No. So then they say, well, okay, just go back to sleep. Now here's this great big mother spider on the wall right next to where my bed is sleeping. They can't find it. And they say, okay, gonna turn out the light now. Go back to sleep. What? Oh hell no. No, no, no. I would lay awake at night and like that spiders over on the is that spider is the end of the bed. Is he gonna crawl on me? Like, ah! Oh yeah. So the fact that there are all these spiders in my house and everything is like a really big achievement. Yeah, Travis. Oh, hell no. So, but I mean, that's how I grew up. And people say, why do you have trouble sleeping? Because, I was always afraid of these spiders in the house. Now, they were not the kind to like bite you, kill you, whatever. But I remember we were camped out in the woods one time down at somewhere in middle Florida, right? And we were just sleeping in sleeping bags on the ground. I woke up and there was a granddaddy long leg on my face and and then there's the going through the woods and running into spider webs. Well, if any of y'all know what the big banana spiders are, some of these things are like this big, their bodies this long, and the webs and everything. You run into one of them in the middle of the night, it will freak you out, creep you out, right? Don't care who you are, okay? You're gonna go, where is he? So that's why when I'm walking, I always carry a stick in front of me, especially at night. And so if I run into a spider web, then it hits my walking stick first and not my face. But anyway, you learn things in the woods, right? But um, yeah, the spiders have gotten too much in here. I really do have a. There are some that I have been bitten by, but um, my ex old lady, and I can say that they have a granddaddy longleg that's around here that's got like this little tiny round body, right? And now I'm not even sure if there are 8 legs. There might actually be only 6, but these are not the same granddaddy longlegs that we had down in Florida where I was growing up. These things were like these great big, show enough big. Um, anyway, um, yeah, they're massive. Yeah, um, she, my ex old lady, she went around, spider, spider, kill it, kill it. And I told her, I said, they're gonna get you. She's like, what do you mean? I said, you gotta sneak up and get them with a vacuum cleaner or something. You cannot attack the spiders. You don't understand. What do you mean? I said, you do not attack the spiders. They will come and get you. Oh, well, you're full of shit. No, I'm not. I'm telling you, don't with the spiders, okay? If there's one, you go, well, I'm sorry, bam, kill it. Don't go hunting them because they know. What are you talking about? I said, spiders are a lot smarter than you give them credit. I said, but if you go on the hunt to kill them, you better beware. Be ready for the circumstances. So she didn't believe me. And then she went on this spree to kill all the spiders and in the corners and stuff. And I said, okie dokie. And now some of these spiders are pretty damn big up here to there and over there. It's like, but she went hunting. And then before you knew it, she was sleeping on the bed and there'd be a spider on her. And whoa, there's a spider. And there were always spiders in the bed. And of course, I had to sleep in the bed with her, right? So there were spiders on me too. And I'd go, come on now, guys, go away. But she pissed them off so bad, it was like they wouldn't let her rest. She would bit a couple of times. And I told her, I said, you just can't do that. Now, since I have not attacked the spiders, as many of them as there are in my house, they don't mess with me. They don't mess with me, like has happened in the past. So, in all this freaky deaky, oh, that's bullshit, Dave. I'm sorry, but I really don't like them. And there's over there, they come and crawl and play on the wall right there. And I see them of it. Yeah, they get the deal is don't invade my personal space. Don't get on me at night. Don't. And they have listened to that, and I don't hunt them down. But there's too freaking many of them now. That they're raining down on me. Nah, there's got to be a point, right? They will cover your tent. Yeah, yeah. And see now, one of the shamans, medicine men that stayed here with me for off and on for almost 2 years. And we were, in the fall of the year or spring, depending. People down here in the South, we burn off the property. So between now and spring, there's going to be plots in the backyard down in the woods that I'm going to burn because there's too much litter, there's too many pine needles and stuff, and it needs to get burnt so the grass will grow and stuff like that, right? So we're walking down there at night. We used to make a bunch of trips back and forth down to the river, and I can't even get to the river now. This year, I'm going to make it to the river. I'm going to make my trail, retake my trail back. But So we're walking down there, and Joe's shining the light around. He goes, "What are those tiny those little dots in that I see with the my headlamp?" And I said, "Well, those are spiders." And he was like, "What?" And I go, "Yeah, those are spiders. Look real close." And I said, "It's not one, it's two little red lights that are looking back." And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And he goes, "So we're shining across, the grass and the things and the stuff and everything, and they're here and there's one over there and over here and here and here." He said, "Oh my God, there's like 15 or 20." And he don't like spiders, right? And he's freaking out. And I go, "Yeah, it's okay. They're always there, and I didn't say, but you should see that there's even more. I didn't say there's more of them, right?" So we're going through the wood and setting little patches of brush on fire and watching it. And one spot it would burn so many feet and it'd go out, okay, which is fine. But we were making sure that it didn't go overboard and burn too much, right? So we start a little fire here, go down in the woods, start a little here. So anyway, so in the course of a couple of hours in an evening, right? We burn off these patches, and which is a good thing. And we're coming back from the river. We got our headlamps on, and we're looking around. And Joe gets to this one spot where we had seen all those spider eyes before, and it's blackened. Now I was curious myself. After we burn off the leaves and everything, what's going to happen to the spiders, right? So now it's blackened instead of leaves and things and stuff, and you can see across it's clear. Now there are thousands of tiny little eyes shining against the black smut of the ground that's on the ground. And Joe starts freaking out. "There's thousands of them. Oh my God, where'd they all come from?" And I said, "Dude, they were here all along." "Well, I've been sitting on the ground. I've been sleeping on the ground." I go, "Yeah. Have you had any on you or they bit you or anything?" "No." I said, they're always here. So, but anyway, I had many. What about Tennessee? I missed it. So, but anyway, but to the point though, there are a lot more spiders than people ever really give it. "Hey, Michelle. Hey, baby. How are you?" Big black spider. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. The babies thing. Yeah. I was working on my truck and putting in the new radiator, and I looked down in there, and there's a black widow spider hanging between the engine and the radiator. And I never did find the spider. But which I still keep an eye on, by the way. But now that it won't start, but but that's just another story. I called you earlier, Barry, and left a message. Don't know if you got it, but anyway. So and it's good to see y'all. It's a good visit. I know I'm not on all the time, but I have been busy digging out in the yard and cleaning up and making more piles. And when Rob was here today, he goes, "Man, I can really tell you've been doing a lot around here." And I go, "I know." And it's still cluttered and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that's that has changed since he was here a week ago, kind of thing. So, and I'm just going to keep up the work. You just woke up. That's okay, brother. It's 12:51 a.m. time, Eastern Standard Time, by the way, now. So y'all back to my time. But in the course of looking at all this time thing and stuff, today it was interesting in that I thought about it. It was like that's one of the biggest mind messes, and we just you know let him do it. Oh, but yes, they are making time warps. Yes, they are messing with time. And yes, they are messing with. Yeah, yes, it's all true. Now, to what extent and all this, but I hadn't really stopped to consider. Wait a minute, because see, I went along with it too until these last couple of years, right? And my experiments with the sun. Tropical time is 151. 151 rum, huh? Alex, I thought you were on the Eastern time just like me, and I got 12, but you're at 1. I thought we were on the same time zone. Anyway, and here's coffee with some 2% milk. And, Bob, we love you. Haven't said hi to Bob recently. But um, talking about the sun and time and stuff, um, recently here I had time to go visit an elderly gentleman who's selling out a lot of stuff that his ex-wives have collected over the years. Now, um, um, Isby's in the house, and he'll tell you that he's seen this. Now I'm going to show it to you. It's a glass ball. You can even see my face upside down in the glass. How about that? Okay, now there's a flat spot on the bottom there that I can see it on the video there, right? So it has a place to sit down. Now I'm going to do it the opposite way, and almost looks like a fisheye, you see, depending on how I turn it, right? So I'm upside down through the glass. I hadn't, that's pretty interesting. Now here's the thing. Oh, topical region doesn't change. Gotcha. Okay, I was just thinking, I was checking your time with the time on the computer, not to the house. So I got you. So, but anyway, here's this glass ball, right? So now, um, I got it sitting over here in the window, right? All my windows, the sun's shining in. It's that it's that time of year, and I it was on the big table over here, and I'm cleaning up, and I decided I'm going to put it over there in the window, and just on the windowsill there, windowsill, and I'm sitting here, and the sun was shining bright the other day, and I'm watching something and doing something here on the computer, and I look over the top of the computer by the chair, and I see this little bit of wispy smoke coming up from over there at the window. And I'm like, Duggar's on the thing over there underneath the window. He's laying in the sun. What is this smoke that's coming up from over there? And I mean, it's like coming up. So I get up and I walk over there and look. Hey, Greenie Jeannie Greenie, Houdini. uh, this thing was acting and does act like a magnifying glass. And what it was, the sun was shining through as it was sitting on the windowsill. It was shining through, and the focal length from like right about here to the windowsill, it burnt a slot in the windowsill. For the time it was sitting over there, it was like an hour. There's this slot burnt into the wood on the windowsill over there. And because I was minding my own business, not I'm hadn't paid any attention to it, right? That this would burn the house down. Starting a fire. I was like, no way. So I said, so I got to playing with the ball, and putting it in the window, putting it on the floor, putting it over here. So I didn't really have time to like mess with it because I was in the middle of doing something else. So now my windows over here are frosted, and they're glass from the sliding shower door glass. So I'm sure you've seen it. It's frosted kind of glass, and you can't really see through it, but light does get through it, right? So I set it over here on the table, and I'm watching it, right? Because the light that's coming through it from the sun is refracted. There was no solid focal point, where over there it's just regular glass, and the sun was shining right on it and had a perfect little spot and burned us. I mean, as white as this cigarette is, about yay long, about that long on the windowsill, from here to here. So, and I mean a dark black spot, smut. So I put it on the table, And I sit here for like 15 or 20 minutes watching it, and I can see the sun sparkling through here and then looking at the reflection on the table, and it was like watching a kaleidoscope on the table. There was no focal point. So I'm watching and I'm doing something, doing, look over there, no smoke, no nothing. I think it's okay. So I go outside and do something and I leave it in the window and I come back in and I sit down to have a smoke. And I look over there and there's a slot about this long on the table where it's burnt a hole in the table. And I'm like, what? So the new rule is do not put this glass ball in the window of anything, you know. So I did a test because now I'm like, okay, so which window, you know, where can I put this thing without burning down the house, right? And would it burn down the house, right? So, well, obviously it's like wood burned into the table and wood burned into my windowsill, but it didn't start it on fire, right? So I put a piece of paper on the floor. I got concrete floors. So, and then I put the ball on the floor with it with a nice bright sunshine. And it started that paper right on. It didn't take it any time at all. I mean, like less than a minute for the paper to be smoking and smoldering. It was like immediate. So anyway, and I got this thing with a lot of other stuff from the yard sale guy and this and that. And so, but I got it because I have an honest to God round ball. It needs a holder because it'll just roll off and break. Um, but because it's on a stand, there is no focal point. It's way beyond the focal point. It's up high. So, and I haven't tried it, but so one of my next things is I'm going to check and see if this other, honest to goodness, sure enough, it this one they're both glass, but the other one's a lot more clear than this particular glass ball here. But anyway, not to keep crystal balls and bottles of water. Well, it's just it's not really quote a crystal ball, you know. It's just a glass ball. I hadn't thought about it, Delaney. I mean, honest to goodness, but this other one is on a big tall stand, and there is no focal point. You to get my crystal ball out. Well, good for other reasons too. You know, this is just a piece of glass that was sitting in the bottom of a box, and I said, oh, think I'll little odds and ends that I put together as a box of goodies for the from the yard sale that I gave the man $50 for. So it was part of a group of things, right? But anyway, um, but anyway, I thought I would share that story because it's like in the time. See, there's the word time is involved in the use of this thing and how much time did I put it in the windowsill? How long? What So there is this time factor that's still part of this morning's storyline, I guess. You train of thought. There you go. Woo woo. Are y'all on this train? It's 1:01 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time. Thank goodness everybody's back on the. I thought I thought saying to would let me sleep. Oh yeah, I had a noisy. You put a battery in it, but and there are some times when that thing it sounds like. And come to think of it, there was a clock that when I was growing up, it was one of these big, had four spires on it like this, gold spires that went out, clock in the middle, then a couple little things. Anyway, it was a nice clock, but it was on the wall like forever. And I could hear that clock run in my bedroom down the hall, which was like 20, 30 feet away. And even with the door closed, I could hear that freaking clock. So, but there were some times it was just, yeah, it was so annoying. Yeah, my spider card. So, but anyway, Um, I wasn't going to get on tonight because I kind of figured y'all had something better to do, but I missed you, and I was like, nah, I really wanted to talk about this time warp, but I figured, it wasn't time. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, the next other thing. Now, I think somebody else has mentioned this before, and I will absolutely say if I've made a derogatory mark in regards to it, I'm sorry. I don't think so. I think my comment is or was, I don't know enough about it to make a comment. However, I will make this remark in that if I have made any derogatory remarks, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to. That's for one. But in going to Thomasville today and noticing some of these new um, smoke shops and things that are now depending on the the 80% of stuff because you know I'm y'all know a lot about these CBDs and things like that, and I have did not know how stupid I was about it. So here's a particular one that it is Mongda Kratom, okay, and it's a green vein, all right, and this particular one is silver. Now I did not know what this was, and I think some folks have asked me or told me about this, and I honestly didn't know. So, in doing some check-in and so forth and seeing it now that it's like locally available, I can do my own research and so forth, which I'm in the process of doing. So, I'm giving this Mangda Kratom a chance. All right, and they have other brands I understand and so forth. They had a really nice black lady down there in Thomasville, whose name's Jennifer, by the way. If you all go by the shop down there next to the Tractor Supply, go say hi. But um, I've learned a lot here recently about this, and so I'm currently on. I've taken one earlier this afternoon, and I've taken one. Well, I guess it's been close to 6 hours now, 5 hours ago. And I've noticed there's something different. Okay. But each one of these, as am learning about it, has their own sedative. Uh, yeah, and there are different strains of it from different countries or whatever, and some have more like this, some are more like that, blah 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 blah. But here's the thing. Um, it has subdued my pain. I've only taken let's see, there's not much in each one of these pills. Okay. So, but it's a trial on my part because for me, there are people say, well, you need to take two or three of these, when actually maybe one or two would have been enough for me. So I always try to start on the low end of something and titrate up. I can always take another, but if you take too many of something, then you're screwed, right? So, so I'm on a small dosage of this to see how it does with my pain for this evening. With all the things that I've done, I can absolutely tell you that it has made at least a slight difference, which is good because I would really like to stop taking ibuprofen. Um, and also some of these have like mood swinger thingies in them kind of thing. So I've noticed that I'm a little giddy tonight, you know what I'm saying? So it's like don't know what's in this. It doesn't seem to be bad, but I can tell you that you all can probably tell I'm a little giddy tonight for whatever reason. Well, this might be it. So anything that helps out, that is hopefully natural. It's illegal where the opioid crisis. Who would have thought? Yeah, well, it's basic. They say that it's as close to an opioid as you can get. And the lady behind the counter, Miss Jennifer, a nice black lady, um, versus a nice white lady or Chicano lady or, or Chinese lady. Ah, so, but anyway, um, but she was, very helpful, and she has spinal issues and neck issues and things. And you take a capsule every day, indica CBD. Yeah, so she was showing me some things, and she told me, she said there are people who were have on heroin and other drugs that take this to get off of drugs, and they find this a natural way versus whatever they were taking. So, and there are some folks that go, well, you can get stuck on this. Well, you can get addicted to anything. Okay, just saying. But at my age, if I can use a little opium to my benefit to help ease the pain for me to be able to walk and just do some stuff, I'm sorry, but uh, that sounded a little crass. But this is organic. I'd much rather eat an organic thing. Now, apparently, this was not covered by the FDA or stuff like that, but uh, we made edibles tonight. I'm grabbing a piece of. Oh, cool. Banana bread. Now I hadn't thought about that. See, I've got a pound of can of butter in the freezer, and I have just been trying to figure out what to make with it. So, but a banana bread or something like, that sounds good. Oh, yum. Hey, Greenie, how you doing? Um, but anyway, so I for whatever you all might know about this or whatever, I'm just finding out. But if and for you, Michelle, if you take some of this every day, I know there's several different types and brands and whatever, and as they have these capsules versus they had bags of powder. So, in looking at how many ounces and so forth and grams and whatever's going on, if this works, I'm going back to the store and buying a pound of that, a pound of that, a pound of that, and I'm gonna, figure it out. Yeah, some of these different blends from what I was reading, some of them are good for anxiety. And for me, because I've had so many head injuries, there are times when it's, I'm sleepy too much of the time. Yeah, 28, right. Could I actually afford a pound? I don't know, but the point is, Travis, that I'm gonna buy more than just a couple in a pack. But anyway, um, my point to some things these days is like, I've got the money, why not go ahead and stock up? Like around here, some of these local stores, they don't have any canned dog food. Okay. So today I went up to the big store and bought a couple of cases of dog food. Okay. 12 in a thing, right? Versus a couple of cans at a time. And since my truck ain't running, I don't know when I'll get back to the store, but now at least Duggar's got enough food. Yeah, 16 ounces in a pound, right? Ashwagandha. Yeah, there was something about that, a good mushroom. Yeah. So, if I've made any derogatory remarks about this stuff, I don't know. I don't think I have. Um, I may have been a little dismissive because I didn't know what it was. And I would still be dismissive in that until it kind of works for me. That's not really the right word, not dismissive. Skeptical is a better word. But and just today by taking two is like I can tell a difference. Oh, but that one of these blends is supposedly, and this might be the one, but that will, be uplifting, not necessarily take, but for where I've had issues with narcolepsy, this will help wake me up some. So, I drink coffee and do all these other things to, stimulate me during the day so my brain just doesn't say, oh, and conk out. My body's willing, but the brain just ain't there, right? So, but if taking this helps to stimulate that and to help keep me awake, to be able to follow through on things, that's a good thing. And for all the pharmaceuticals that I've taken over the years, this can't be any worse. You hear what I'm saying? And what I've seen recently about ibuprofen and stuff like that, and what it does to the liver and so forth. It used to be that you could take aspirin, and aspirin was aspirin, but now aspirin is called NSAID. Ibuprofen is made out of the same NSAID stuff, right? So you're not getting the aspirin, you're not getting the ibuprofen, you're getting NSAID as the analgesic thing that's in all of these things. And it's like, no, I want aspirin. I want it, honest to God, just an they don't sell just aspirin anymore. You look on the back of all these things, and it's called they all say NSAID. What the is that to begin with? And why, wait a minute. Um, you know, for example, one of the stomach things, and I used to have a lot of stomach issues when I don't anymore, um, was I used to take kaopectate. Kaopectate is made from clay, all right? So they literally take clay like it's the bottom of my well, and there's mine down here in Georgia and some other places, North Florida, um, Atapulgos, and that's in Georgia. But anyway, um, that the FDA said, wait a minute, you can't really prove that the kaolin, the clay in your kaopectin, or your yeah, is actually working. Okay, so they made them stop using the clay in their kaopectate and made them use what's in, guess what, which I hate, Pepto Bismol. So you buy kaopectate, and there was a couple of years ago, I was like, something's changed. This just ain't working the same way it used to work for me. Upset stomach, diarrhea. Man, I'd grab my bottle and take a swig, and a couple hours later, I'd be doing all right. This stuff refused to work, and I got to looking on the back. The FDA went. I went and read about it. So kaopectate, they kept the name, but because the mandate said you can't prove that the clay you've been using in your product for years, you can't actually prove that it works. Well, how many millions of bottles have you sold of this stuff? Well, I was a happy customer. Now I wouldn't buy it now for nothing. But but I hate Pepto Bismol, right? For it upset something. I hate it. The taste, the pink. Oh, yuck! I have thrown up that stuff so many times. Coming out your nose. I'm sorry, that's too graphic. But oh, we're coming up on a 20. But so, and it's a nice visit with you all this evening. Keep my frequency between groovy and awesome. 15 years ago is only. Yeah, it really is, Johan. I was on them for a long time. But I mean, I've got serious bone injuries and spinal injuries that I just wasn't like, oh, my back hurts now. But anyway, not to say yours was, but there are some folks that were taking pain pills when they should have just been exercising more. Research, go through the pain and be on a. Gonna roll another one. Yeah, I got some in this bowl. I'm fixing to hit it again. But here's the thing about the opioids. Now, I was taking a lot of stuff, from the doctor legally for years because of my severe spinal injuries and my neck injuries and so forth. And but here in my old age, I don't want to be stoned or so, I know what it means to have too much of this in you, They were talking about tramadol today, and I was like, "Yeah, I used to take a crap load of tramadol." And they're like, "Nah, they made it a controlled substance now. People are getting hooked on tramadol." And I was like, "What?" I found it very effective, but now it's controlled substance, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So what I had considered at the time, and for God Almighty, 10 years or more, I've taken tramadol. I don't take it anymore, but I was like, well, to me, if I went back to the doctor, I'd say, why don't you give me some of that tramadol again, because it worked for me, and to me, it was like a low thing tolerance, and now all of a sudden it's got like it's bad, it's got hard to get off of, and I'm like, well, I'm off of it. Do I feel like I'm having withdrawals? No, but I have pain. Oh, but is that withdrawals? No, but I have pain. So, um, I don't want to be stoned out or whatever, but if there's something that I can take and that will help me through my day at my old age, you know, uh, yeah, CBD. And so the lady behind the counter, Jennifer, a lovely lady, um, she goes, some people want some of this stuff to get a buzz. And I looked at her, honey, and I said, honey, I'm an old hippie. She goes, so's my mama. She goes, sometimes Mary Jane, and I love the way she said it. She goes, sometimes that Mary Jane is what you just need. Now, for some of these lovely old black folks that I've known for many years down here, they always they always called it Mary Jane, and that goes back to the late 50s and 60s and 70s, Mary Jane. And the fact that people are still using the terminology, I just fell in love with this lady, who's her mom's about my age, kind of the thing. So my mom's kind of old, and all that. But um tramadol, is that? No, it was for pain. Yeah, until you got to come off of it. Okay, Nat, was we love you. I got off. Yeah, gabapentin's the other one. Yeah, that's the other one, Ken. But to the point about this kratom, I'm going to check it out, see how it works. I don't want to be blasted, but I told her, I said, look, and I said, Mary Jane, weed. I said, if I want to get high, I'll just smoke a bowl, which it's like 120 right now. So smoke if you got it, my friends. And I'd share if you was here. So Sunday driver, yeah. It took me so long to find out that I found out. Boom, da 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 da, day tripper. Yummy for the tummy. So when Ken was here and we were talking, Mr. Idby, about this Delta or Phoenix or whatever the hell the different, well, this is an 80 and that's a 90 and this is a like, okay. So they've got this stuff, and the lady behind the counter, Miss Jennifer, I said, and here's something that's got some kind of hemp or something in it. Looks like a cigar, right? And it smokes okay, and a little strange and cigary, and it's got some little plug thing on the end. I don't know what it anyway. And it's like, so she's like, well, some people get a light buzz off of this, but I said, so you can sell this stuff here in your shop, and it's okay. You can sell these edibles, and it's okay, and you can, but we can't smoke a joint in the store because that's against the law. She goes, yeah, well, that Mary Jane, and I said, so all this stuff here is like near beer, and she went, what? And I said, it's like near beer. It's almost weed, but it ain't quite. So you got all these different flavors, and it's almost like opium, but it's not quite. It's almost it's almost tobacco, but not quite. So anyway, when I said it's like, oh, so all this stuff's like like near beer, huh? They cracked up. Like, yeah. Oh, but oh, I get it. So it's almost, but not quite, you know. Which for me is like so flippin' stupid here in Georgia, right? It's a continuing misdemeanor if you're caught with less than an ounce. Okay. It's got to be 20, it's got to be less than that ounce, right? Um, Sing some of them Delta blues. Yeah, they grow Delta 8 on mouth at 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 Royal Blooms. Okay. But to the point, see, now I'm new to all this Delta stuff and all this, right? So, but so this is like a 2% beer versus this is so this is near beer basically. You can't smoke weed because it'll put tobacco companies out of business. No, I'm still going to smoke a cigarette. I don't think so. I really don't, Johan. If anything, when I smoke some weed, then I want a cigarette. Kind of it's like um oh man, Bela Lugosi in one of the movies. Anyway, I can't remember who played him, but he was like, you know, a thing of cocaine and with a nicotine chaser. So a cigarette, was his nicotine chaser with his drug of choice. So it's like, yeah, smoke a little weed and then have a nicotine chaser. So yeah, I I don't think it would put tobacco companies out of business because they bought up rights to selling weed a long time ago. It's the politicians, Where are all the, if weed was legal, so many people quit drinking and driving, right? And so now if they made weed legal, they'd have to let these people out of jail. They'd have to, change their way of thinking and oh, well, weed's legal now. Well, does that mean because I was busted with weed, which they considered a felony, if it's legal now, does that mean I get my rights back and I can own a gun? I mean, come on, guys. If it's now legal, then that should back up to anybody that was caught with over an ounce. Now that it's legal, we should have our rights restored. I should be able to purchase a gun again. Oh, by the way, I remember people drinking near beer. Yeah, I'm there. O'Doul's actually wasn't too bad. There was a couple of near beers I tried years ago, but I don't know. I think it was the hops or something, whatever it was in beer. I just could not drink anymore. It gave me a headache. Nonviolent feelings. Yeah. See, now I can vote, um, but I can't own a gun. But I want to show you something, okay? Now, I'm not really a gun person, honestly, but out here in the woods and the swamp and everything, So I got something today. And Barry, we kind of sort of talked about this. And um, I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera with the light that I got, but was in the local feed store thingy, Tractor Supply, and have been I've got one. I've had one for years, but uh, there's issues with it. Let me see if I can get a little bit better light. Now this looks like a big time hunting rifle. Let me turn on the overhead light. Yeah, that's better. Now this is an air rifle. Okay, it's a .177 air rifle. All right. Get back far enough. Can you see the muzzle on this thing? There's some really fine machining on this thing. All right. It's a composite stock. It's got a decent weight to it. Um, and when you look at it, it looks like this is like a real honest to God gun. Okay. Now you say, well, Hawkeye, well, I live down here. Yeah, it is by Gammo, but I don't think it's the Predator. But yes, it is by Gammo. And this is the 177. I really like it. It's a single break barrel. For those of you, I'm going to do a review on it because I've got a Benjamin 22 that you have to pump up. Okay. And so I've talked with some folks. I even talked to Barry about this, about, the brake barrel and, how hard is it and difficult and all that. So I was really hesitant to get one. Well, they had this thing on sale like for 140 bucks. And for 140 bucks with the sight and everything on it, this is a 1300 uh, feet per second. This puppy will really shoot him out there. But the thing is that because I can't buy a firearm, um, I bought it just for whatever little self protection, killing varmints in the, in the chicken pan when they got in. Is just the new psychoactive. Yeah. Yeah. Don't buy into the hype. Gunshot just now. Really? Diesel, that thing is something fierce. It'll flip me in my chair if the barrel pops back on me. Well, here's the thing. Now, I don't want to cock it because I don't want to fire it. Man, I don't have any. I don't have any 177 shells, but I found this thing, and to me, this ain't near as hard as I thought it was going to be. And for the amount of muzzle velocity this thing puts out, I fired it once, with nothing in it. Oh my God, it's as loud as a 22. Holy crap. And it's got a muzzle velocity thing on it. This is not a BB gun, you know, and the look of it, just like this. So I told Rob today, who was with me when I bought it, and I told him, I said, I don't, if somebody comes down here and wants to threaten me with a gun or something, I said, if I show up and turn on the light and just the presence of this thing, people are going to go, that guy's got a gun. Yeah, but they don't know it's a one shot pellet gun. That's not the point. They see this thing right here and it's legal, because it's an air rifle. So they can't arrest me for it, right? But it's impressive in that, yeah, it'll smoke when it's a 177, Greenie. But I've got a Benjamin pump action, right? And it makes too much noise because in order to get a decent amount of pressure, it's like doom, 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 and it gets a little harder for every pump, right? This is one pump, period. And I like that. I don't care how hard it is. I'll figure out how to cock it, right? But so my point is, it's so much quieter in that one pump, load it, cock it back, it's done. I really like that, especially for the power. So I'm already looking at because I love my 22, and the bigger pellet is just has a little. If I got to sure enough kill something, there are folks. They got a 25 caliber out. They got a 50 caliber air rifle now too, but they're like $2,000 or something. But there are folks who are hunting wild boar with 25 caliber air rifles and making kills, So the whole idea for me with air rifles and so forth is the fact that you don't the ammunition is really cheap. You get 500 in a little in a little tin, you know what I mean? And that it does, you know, you can get the pellets wet, you can dry them off. I mean, it's not like you have buying ammunition that's, requires um, gunpowder. So, but the idea that we can see now for me, this is new technology that's useful. An air rifle, you know, it's high tech and it's low tech. You pump air into this thing with a little pellet, and that, instead of having to make the brass for bullets and the firing pins and all of the above, right? So this is so simple. So this to me is like this is what new technology should be. If pioneers had air guns, uh, and supposedly there's somebody that's coming up with like a more rapid fire that you can do two or three shots like pretty much in a row. Um, BB size, I only have to write. Uh, yeah, it's still a good air rifle. It's got a brass inside thing that is somehow wore out and I got to get another one. And quite frankly, I've been quite just, I'll fix it one of these days. Well, I'll order one. Nah. And so I had made the deal that I was going to get a brake barrel because I wanted to check it out. Because the biggest reason why I didn't haven't fixed the Benjamin is because it takes so many pumps. And when you're in the woods and you're trying to be quiet and, but as far as shooting it and carrying it and having a decent velocity and being able to hit a target, I love that little Benjamin. And it's got a wood stock. I mean, it looks like a real gun kind of thing. I mean, this looks like a real gun too. Now they've got some, and I'd be really interested. I'm not sure how it is coming out, but they've got some to where you can take and they're the butt of the rifle stores air. And so like you could fill air up with a compressor into the stock of the rifle. And then instead of having to cock it, you can charge it. And then you can buy these little things like take with you that you can charge with an air compressor at the house. Um, you know, that will help you. And so it's like now that's interesting. So you can do more than one shot. Now it's a single shot and you have to reload it every time, but you don't have to pump it every time. That's interesting. And it's not necessarily like a cartridge, but it's similar. Anyway, so I find it very interesting that folks are coming up with, you know, really good designs with Johan. Okay, good to see you. Glad you checked in with us. Yeah, Travis, it is. Yeah, Texan Big Bore use the portable air tanks. Yeah. I've seen some of them, but to the point though. So, but the idea that you don't have to have a, ammunition, but you can still, if you're hunting, you can still make the hunt, I'm not into big time killing or all that, but I'll tell you what, this thing right here, if somebody comes up to the door and I go, what do you want? They ain't going to ask me if it's a BB gun. I've got an old Crossman, single pump BB pellet gun out there in the shed. It looks like a BB gun. This is a BB gun for adults. I mean, yeah, and it says right in there as I'm reading the thing when I got to the house and was checking out um, the little manual that comes with it, and it says, um, this looks like a real gun. Police may think that it's a real firearm. Be careful. And I had just got done making the comment without reading it. I was like, that's a good reason for having this, just to show it off. I don't want to get in a fight with anybody, but if they think that I don't have something, just one look at this, they ain't going to know it's a pellet gun, you know? But I also have also done a little practice. I think I could cock this thing and reload it in under a minute, you know. So, but anyway, that's sort of my Christmas present to me. Um, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm not really into firearms, but being able to plunk and shoot back, and just target practice. And use the Gamma Red Polymer. Yeah, I'm going to get some of those. I've got 22 rounds upstairs, pellets of different types and so forth. But and I thought I had some 177s, but I don't. So I'm gonna get online and order some and have them shipped because I didn't see any at the store. So certain things were easy to find in the stores where I was at today, and some things were like there was one or two cans or one or two somethings, um, but it is Sunday afternoon and evening, and most people do their shopping on the weekend, so I expect things to be a little, in some things be in short supply on a Sunday evening, But anyway, um, that's the other thing. I've talked with some other folks too who took a trip, and they said they came down from Alaska and drove all the way down in Washington and then all the way across, and they said that the shelves and things and stuff, the prices were pretty much the same. Everybody like west of the Mississippi was everything seemed to be okay. But when they started getting closer to the Mississippi and crossing over, and Missouri and Illinois and places like that, when they were heading east, then the shelves were not stocked and people were running out of stuff. But for all their travels through all the other states, all the way over, everything just seemed normal. So, and they said the further east they got, the worse it got with shelves empty and stuff, and so thought I'd pass that little tense. Hey Maverick, how are you? I have those ballistic tips. Oh really? Much love to you too, Michelle. Oh, and by the way, here I don't know if I've discussed this, but since we're talking pellets at the moment, um in some of these videos, some of these guys have taken the pellets and a Q-tip. All right, and it was found out by accident, but because of the air pressure and so forth, um, and in an air gun, um, they would put a little bit of a drop of oil, machine oil. I guess vegetable oil would work, but that a little bit of Vaseline, petroleum jelly. Okay, just a dab in the cup end of the pellet, right? And that because of the pellet and the pressure in the air, it acts like a diesel engine in that the more pressure there is with a little bit of petroleum jelly, that it ignited and increased the pellets as much as 300 feet per second by adding just a tiny little dab. They like put it on a Q-tip and then hit some of the back ends of your pellets. Just a dab, and it will increase it, they showed, there's a couple of videos out there where they show the difference, same rifle, same gun, one pellet without the Vaseline and the next pellet with it, and they shoot it through one of them speed thingies, and there is a marked difference. You can hear the difference, and it was like amazing. So if you wanted to get a little extra punch out of your pellet gun that you've already got, this seems to work. And, a lot of people, yeah, I can't wait to try it either. I wish I had some. I just want to shoot it now because I got two or three thousand 22 pellets upstairs, and I got and none of them will fit this gun. But anyway, so and if my truck worked, I'd be in town tomorrow getting some. Let me tell you, uh, I couldn't find any in the store, and I swore I had some here. But anyway, we grease our black powder rounds. Yeah, it'll blow the plastic off the back of your gun. Yeah, it's just a dab. I mean, they were like just a little. I imagine it adds a wee bit of weight to the shot as well. Yeah, a Crossman. Yeah, that's what some of these guys were shooting. But I mean, it's like you don't squash it. I mean, it's just like a tiny little bit. So it's like, okay, so the amount that you put on the pellet obviously will make a difference. And, but anyway, if you were out hunting and you just needed that extra kick, you could have a couple of pellets with just a little bit of, jelly in them, you know. And I would imagine that the jelly, because it's petroleum jelly, would be more useful to the gun as it oils its way down the barrel. You know what I mean? So um, it would be less harmful than anything else. But anyway, I just find that interesting. But between burning the house down with yeah, my old car. I still got one out of the shed. It just doesn't shoot anything. But just plinking cans, just for the fun, you could only pump it up once. Yeah, especially with the BBs. We'd sit around and just literally just target practice with them. It was a ball. But this thing here, and for 140 bucks, the workmanship as being a machinist and everything, this thing is solid. I mean, it's solid. But the fluting on the end that's supposed to be the noise suppressor or whatever, them flutes don't come on there easily. And it's not cast, they're machined in there because I could tell. But the covering is good. I mean, the weight on it is good. The just playing around with the scope, which I'm not used to a scope much because I've just always been a by eye. And with the air rifles, I figured, the closer is better. And if I can't aim it without a scope, I don't need to be shooting, I guess. Yeah, it makes it mean looking. It really does. But the weight and everything, I mean, oh my God. If I was to come across somebody in the woods, I think it looks like a 30-30 or something. So and it's almost, you know, it's like 6 pounds, 7 pounds, something like that. But anyway, you Kel-Tec so I can fold it in half and put it in my bag. 9 millimeter, yeah. See, I can't own a real gun. That's why I've been watching the air gun thing for a long time now. Ever since I've had my Benjamin 22 for at least 15 years or more. Um, you know, um, then I let it dry out. I didn't do it. I didn't take care of it correctly. It's badly my fault. But I'm already pricing a 22 in a break barrel because I like this break barrel so good, And I've got 3,000 rounds. I got $40 maybe in pellets. So I'm going to buy a $300 gun so I can shoot them. Now that makes perfect sense, don't it? Don't it? That just makes perfect sense. But no, I mean, uh, I keep my fingers crossed, but I'm still in my old age. I'm still gonna hedge my bet and go. Nah, I think I would rather go ahead and get my 22 fixed and another break barrel 22 because they have wild boar around here. There are other things too, and I've had wild pig, and man, it's some good eating. Let me tell you. Um, and we really don't know what these fools are going to do. And a few years ago, I was like, yeah, I got my 22 and yeah, I got my stuff. But it didn't look like it does now, quite frankly. The situation in the world 5 years ago ain't what it's looking like now. So because things have changed, my attitude is like, "Hey, Pog, how you doing? Wild boar is way tastier than yeah, uh, it sure is." Um, so one of the things that I had already made plans with my Benjamin 22, but since it's not working at the moment, um, biodegradable. So, but I think to have both of these, to have the 177 and the 22, is just a good. Where's the time warp? We're in it, man. We are in it. We are living the time warp, and and I actually need to finish this bowl, so I'll continue to be in the time warp. Um, but see, and to stay with the time thing, there was a time where I wouldn't have been so insistent on like having, well, I got the things, and well, I don't know, and well, I'll fix the gun. Now I want to fix the gun. Now I want my 22 back. Now I've got this one. You know what I mean? I don't want to say an urgency, you know, but for me, it just seems like, nah, maybe I should putting some things off on the slow pile is kind of like I'm fast tracking. Don't know why, you know. I'm not particularly scared, um, but I don't think I'm scared of an invasion. But I'm scared that if I had to scrounge for food, that I'm equipped enough to be able to do so. For example, let me tell you all a trick. Um, this is sort of maybe it's time, but in the time warp of things. So people say, well, I can, I've got a bow and arrow. Okay, you've got a bow. Well, how many arrows do you have? Well, I don't know, I got 20. So but what if you can't buy any more arrows? What you going to do? Well, you got your bow. Well, here's the thing. So I've been looking at different ways of, what if I had to scrounge around? What could I use? Well, and especially for my crossbow, that uses those, those stout little, um, arrows. So what could I substitute that with? Well, guess what? There are certain fiberglass, the fiberglass poles that you get with the tent that's got the rubber band in between them, and you fold them up, and for the umbrella tents, um, dome tents and stuff like that, right? Well, so I've got several tents that were given to me, but the tents were no good. So I've got a lot of these fiberglass pieces, right, that are hollow. Well, come to find out that certain sizes of them are the right size, almost the same diameter as the short arrows for the crossbow, and because there's a hole in them, you can actually screw a tip into these hollow tent fiberglass tent things, right? So, and it's really easy to make put simple feathers on it. You can take a piece of any kind of tape now, some duct tape or something like that. And basically, if it's duct tape, you don't need it that wide. So you split it down the middle, about yay long, lay one piece down on the table with the sticky part up, put the end of the arrow in the middle of the tape, and then put the other piece on top of it and seal it up good. That makes a simple um, fletching, and you trim it, and it's not the best, but it works. So some of these other fiberglass ones will work if you've got a short stroke bow. So if you don't want to pull it back all this long way, they will still work, right? And they got metal on the ends, and so it's like, so anyway, I've also at the feed and seed store, they make a fiberglass rod that is for metal fences, and the diameter is about yay big. And I got them all around the yard. I use them to hang up solar lights and things. They come in handy for stuff. But the interesting thing is they're also the right size that you can also use them um, for you know an arrow on a crossbow. You can file the tips. Yes, absolutely. Right. And so these fiberglass things, the price went from like $1.20 to like three something. They doubled in price for the same thing, but it's a fiberglass pole that holds up the highway markers, also highway markers. I can't picture them in my head at the moment. But anyway, so in my what could I use? What would I use? Now I also know how to take trees and stuff, and if they're crooked, how to straighten them out. But if you've got these other things that could be at your disposal, especially if you're good enough to be able to retrieve them, right? Um, but just for example, what if you ran out? Well, but you had some other things and stuff. So, but anyway, I've been collecting old tent posts and things, and old somebody said, "Well, I got this old tent. You can have it." Okay, so the tent's got a rip in it. It's no good, but I got the tent, the fiberglass pieces, and some of them are smaller diameters than others. The bigger ones are better for the crossbows because the weight and the distance and all that. But I did a couple of test firings with the crossbow, and well, they suggested it be this long or that long. Well, here's the thing, it's all about weight ratio with crossbows. Well, so if it's not the same diameter, but it's a little longer, okay, then you still kind of sort of have that same weight ratio, right? um, if it gets too small, then it's going to overfire the bolt. That's what it call it. So, but anyway, so I find that some of these things, if you make them a little longer, it compensates for the smaller diameter, right? So, but anyway, if you're kind of stuck and don't have a store to get to, these are some, backup things. So, but in thinking about the air guns, is my point about this, it may be time for us just to, I don't know. I don't know what these crazy folks are going to do this winter. You know, there's a lot of stuff about, 21, 22, and we're at the end of 21. And there's been not just Nostradamus kind of predictions, there's been other folks that have been talking about this time period, like Dante and some other people, um, that this time frame has been here set for folks a long time ago, right? For whatever their purpose or whatever it is, but we're here now. You know what I mean? So for those of us who want to be prepared and stay prepared, buying guns and ammo, that's all really nice and great. But you know, I really the think about and seeing on, maybe I am promoting air rifles, but I think there's a time and a place, and I think air rifles, it's time and place is here. Hell, you can steampunk them hollow bolts. Yeah, right. Those white stakes, you need metal ends. Well, here's the thing. I proved it to myself by using just a one of the just the cheat points for target practice, right? You can put a nice point on them. And even the blunt one, I put in the tail end of a fox on the run in my yard. I've hit two foxes, with those blunt points because I couldn't get to a sharp tip. So slingshot is a better choice for speed and silence. Yeah. Well, I've got a regular not a compound bow, but a recurve bow. I've got two of those, and I've got a crossbow upstairs. You know, and I'm pretty damn good with them. But here's the thing, you can make arrows out of all kinds of different things. And but you can buy broadheads or different types of tips too. So I've got several, once or twice a year, I'll go by the arrow section, at least I used to. And Walmart's would have them on sale at the end of hunting season going into spring. And I'd buy up a bunch of tips. And they all got the same kind of screw end in them. So I know they'll fit the fiberglass. So, but just for screwing around. But I have found by, myself hitting with the fox that a blunt tip will hurt something, um, especially if you have intention. A machete, yep. Oh, now I'm going to have a little conversation about machetes one day too, because this stuff, this titanium machete thing that Bear Grylls, whatever it is selling out there, it's a piece of shit. Don't buy it. Do not buy it. It is hopelessly worthless. The titanium blades, there's one, if I can find it, it was snapped in half. The titanium $40 special Bear Grylls thingy busted. Okay. And I mean just chopping on something in the woods. I've got a machete type thing that I've had for years. I've chopped all kinds of shit down. It's got a few nicks in it, but it ain't never broke. So I've got my zombie. Condor is a real machete. These things are yay wide. I'd go get it, but it's outside. But it ain't cheap. It's just made wrong. I mean, for example, a bush axe needs to be thin. If your machete is too thick, it's worthless. It is worthless in the brush. Um, if I learned this years ago when I first bought my property, I helped the surveyor to put the lines in, right, so I could find out where they were on the river. And it's long handled, and they're curved like this, and sharp all the way up, and it's a bush axe. Okay, they have handheld bush axes. They're thin, all right. You can put easy to put a blade on, an edge on them. They're light. I can hack my way through the woods faster than a lot of other people could. I can take a tree that's this big around, because I was doing it the other day. You hit it at the right angle and one chop, and I'm through that bitch. And so, but other folks buy these machetes, because it's called a machete. The bush axe is actually the best. And the ones with the curved arch on them, if you want a zombie killer, let me tell you, there are certain designs that I've seen in some Viking movies and stuff. You go down through the woods with one of those bush axes, hacking your way through brush. You can chop trees down that are this big around with one whack. Choom, and they're done. And I watched this guy. I was like, "How are we going to get through here? You need to shoot a line with your thing," and blah blah blah. And he was like, "Son, ain't you never used one of these?" And he handed me a bush axe. Now this has been almost 40 years ago. And I was like, "No, sir." And he goes, "Watch this." And in 5 minutes, he was 100 yards through the woods. Hadn't really broke out a sweat, and it was clear. And I was like, "Son of a bitch." So, but over the years, I've used them in my swamp and in the backyard. I use them around here a lot because of all the privet hedges. And if you buy a machete, it's probably too thick. But the bush axe and that, oh, that's what you need. And a file. And a file. I have like 10 or 15 machetes. I've got two. I've got two. One stays in the back of my truck all the time because when I go camping or whatever, it goes with me. Because if I'm down in the swamp and the tree's down, you're in some brush, you just hack it, and it's lightweight. And will cut through anything. I mean, I have taken. I've done this myself, right? So, what is my best tool? You have a badass machete. Um, but here's the thing. So, by using the bush axe, which is a thinner blade, right? But it's made for this. I mean, folks in the bush use these things, right? For a reason. And I've got machetes. I've got, bottom at the thing. I've got all kinds over the years down here in the swamp. And but the bush axe thing is like it's the bomb. It is the bomb. Now somebody said, "Well, it's no good for this." Listen, um, um, I have cut through trees with these things as easy, and in some cases, if not easier, than using a good axe. And I've been chopping wood since I was a Cub Scout, man. I know how to cut. I know how to chop wood. Okay, I know how to fell a tree with an axe. A lot of people don't know that, but we used to have competitions and stuff. And I learned from them dudes back in the day how to really cut a notch and how to cut wood. And if I had my choice between an axe and a good sharp bush axe machete type thing, uh, depending on the tree, I would take the bush axe over the axe because you can just take off chunks, and just chip it up, make yourself a good V, and work at it to get in there. It's not heavy, and you can be accurate with it. But so for um, we got another 6 or 8, 10 minutes something. I have a bush axe or sugar cane machete. It's thin like by the handle, but broadens out with a curve. That's kind of sort of what I'm talking about, Travis. If I weren't tired and sitting in this chair and it being 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd walk outside and go get it. But one of these days, I'm going to talk about it and do a video with it, because and show just how really good at cutting through something they are, especially with a little bit of practice. And but and I've used machetes, and they just don't have the same. Um, and but I see people. I got a machete. Yeah, but this some bitch. I'll hurt you twice before you could get at me once with that thing. Usually because they're too thick or the blades are too. I've seen some of these machetes that cheap handle and everything, but they're too thin. They won't hold an edge, and they just don't work as well as these other ones do. But anyway, we were the log splitters. Yeah, yeah. They really don't know how to do that stuff, Barry. Kids these days have no idea. And they go, in a way it was manly stuff. We did log rolling. We used two-man saws with crosscut saws, which I have a crosscut saw here at the house. It's like a 6-foot crosscut saw, and I have used it by myself cutting logs in the river so that I could get by. But anyway, um, to me, there was when you get two people on a big crosscut saw on a big old log, and you get that sawdust going, and the blade sings. There's something to it, and the other person that you're working with. But folks will go, well, what would you want to cut a log for? Anyway, just the experience of it, and the teamwork, and the when you get the saw to sing through, when you're sawing through a log with two people, there's just something about it. And folks who've ever done it right, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but anyway, we're coming up on a 20, and I'm going to be. I am tired already. Been doing a lot of good stuff. So and getting things done. Y'all be proud. Uh, and trying to deal with all the new stuff I bought. With the windmill and this and that. I found a squirrel cage fan that might be able to fit on my generator that I bought because you're an old fart. Yeah, I got to cut firewood this week. I fired up the big stove over here last night. Had it toasty in here, man. I'm talking about. So, but it's easy for me to cut through the wood that I have left over from last year, and so I need to go out and cut some of these trees that should have been cut down earlier this season, but I'm gonna cut them up now. I got one by the shed that has to come down, and a couple out here in the field that absolutely have to come down. A couple of trees that are up here on the hill in the wrong place, got to come down. And they're yay big around at the base. Cut them up into small pieces. They'll dry out in a couple of weeks and be good enough for my stove and small enough for me to handle. And they really do have to come down. They're in the way, too close to the power lines and stuff. They got to come down. So I'm not an old man. I've done tons of firewood in my life. Yeah, but there's just something about, and I mean, there are kids. Let's see, there are kids that I know. They're children. So if if I was related, they'd be my grand anyway. So the kids that I know who are now in their 40s, right? Um, they knew some of it, but their children, dumb as a box of rocks about any of this natural stuff. Well, do you know how to chop firewood? No. Do you know how to cut? No. Do you even know how to handle one? No. I mean, that they were some folks came to visit me to help me cut firewood, and they broke two of my axe handles within 20 minutes. And I was like, now what the fuck am I going to do? You know, you came out to help me cut firewood, and now I got to find handles for my axe and wedge that you busted because you overshot the log. But well, Mr. Dave, we got to go and left me here. And I had to. But here's the thing, because I do live in a swamp and I got lots of trees to choose from. I found I went down in the woods and found a tree that fitted, and went and cut it with my bush axe, so I could fix the handle on my uh, splitting maul. So, well, don't you got to go to the store? Well, no, not if you're resourceful. And I've got backup stuff, but anyway, so not everybody has the same um, um, resources that I do. But if you get into a pinch, here's the thing, well, I can't get to the hardware store. Well, then look around you. There may be some scrap or something else that you can use in the meantime. I mean, some of these rakes and hoes and stuff that I got, I've got some old metal EMT, you know, you put electric wires through and stuff from old this and that. So I have and some old pieces of pipe that I picked up over the years. So I have some hose and rakes that have metal handles, especially pitchforks, and drill a hole in them, put a screw, and that they don't break. They might rust, but they don't break. Next time you split, they haul in a wheelbarrow. Yeah. Yes, I actually bought. I've got a busted handle, and I've got several axe heads with busted heads, right? But I can buy an axe for as much as the handle, and I refuse to pay that much for just the handle. So, but I've got some trees and stuff, and I've been learning how to shave down the trees and make my own handles. So you just find a tree that, like, well, I need a handle, and you go and look for the tree. Now, not everybody can do that. I understand that. And, and some of the trees that I have coming up, they actually need to come down, and in some places they're just the right size for a handle for some of this stuff. So what did the old timers do? They went out in the woods and cut themselves a damn, small sapling down or something, and carved their own handle and things. That's what they did. But folks nowadays, if they break a handle and they can't go buy it at the store, they don't have a clue then it's just broke. They just don't have the tool, is my point. They just don't know what to do. They're just at a loss that can't see any further. So there are times when I think, for my purpose here being on this planet, and they told me this years ago as part of my, you're going to be here to teach some of these youngins how to do some of the simple old things. And okay, if that's it, then okay. But one thing that inspired me years ago, and I'm an old hippie, right? So I've been bitching about recycling and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I remember the commercial with the Indian that was crying. You know what I'm talking about, y'all? All you old farts out there. Um, sitting on the horse, and he's crying because all the litter on the sides of the roads. And I might add too, we're going into Thomasville today, and the middle of the median between divided highway was filthy. We went through Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky. Um, no, we weren't in South Carolina. North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, a part of West Virginia, or a part of Virginia, and Ohio. Okay, and the state of Georgia is the nastiest. I have to say, the people in Georgia are some of the nastiest. The highways filthy. Through all these other states, the folks are serious about keeping their highways clean. I was amazed, appalled, and literally wanted to throw up. It just looked like somebody just threw out trash, literally. And there are folks who like taking garbage off to the dumpster or whatever, and it flies off the truck and hits the meat, and it just stay there. And there's paper and garbage, and it's a mess. That, unfortunately, it's a mess. Um, yeah, but there was something else I wanted to say before I got onto that. A lot of trash there too. Yeah. Oh, but the handle. So, um, but yeah. So I've got pieces of pipe and stuff like that. But so people need to learn how to be resourceful with stuff that's around, and I've always been really good at that. So, as far as my God, I hope I don't have to ever use this. Keep getting older. Now we're added plastics. Oh, thank you. That's what it is, plastics. So years ago, looking around, and I'm walking along the hedgerow, and before all the trees are up here on the hill, and there was plastic blowing around and stuff. And so I'm picking up, and somebody's garbage had gotten knocked over, but I was picking up plastic bags that was blowing, and it got caught on the fence row, right? So I'm picking it up and walking along and doing my thing, and I noticed that there's a nest right in a tree, and I'm looking, and is there anything in it? And let me peek, and I noticed that in this bird's nest they had taken. Now, the interesting is, I'm not quite sure how they did it, but they had strips of plastic bag wrapped in with the sticks uh, in their nest, and had woven the plastic bag in the nest as part of the nest. And I mean, it was woven there good. Now, there wasn't any eggs in it or anything, and it wasn't current. So I kept an eye on this nest, but that plastic, I realized they weren't, these birds weren't stupid. I don't know how they like tore the plastic into strips, but they did. And, because plastic bags are kind of, they don't really tear straight, but I mean, there were these, it looked like they just used a pair of scissors and cut them, in strips and used these strips and wove it into this nest. And I was like, if you're ever really cold or whatever, you get a couple plastic bags and wrap yourself in plastic bags. Um, and it will help keep the moisture. And it, as a windbreak. And if you got nothing, stuff some plastic around you, right? Wrap yourself in some plastic sheeting or something, from rain or whatever, and it'll help hold the heat in some. And you can suffocate too. But so the birds saw this as a quote raw material to them, plastic bag caught in a fence row, and used it in a nest. And I thought to myself, well, damn, if a bird can recycle and repurpose stuff, then maybe I can too. Now my yard is full of stuff that needs to be repurposed and thrown in the garbage. But to the point though, so even nature, we got 2 minutes. Even nature, my filthy neighbors need to move. Yeah, I was walking around my shed and stuff. All these projects I had years ago are now just piles of it's it's a mess. But to the point, I'm cleaning it up a little bit at a time. I'm making progress. Folks, who visit go, wow, Dave, I can really tell. That's a good sign. The thing is all the things that but some of the things that I pack ratted now is coming up on 10 years or 15 years with some of this stuff. And it's gotten rusty or rotted or it's now useless. And so it has now become junk. In walking around this evening with my friend Rob, I was like, uh, looking through some of my junk and I was like, you see that old bicycle and you see that frame and you see that I was going to use the bicycle and it's going to turn a generator and and this was the base and you see that over there. I could tell you all this pieces of junk down here around the old bus. And he's like, man, you got all this wood stored in your bus. And I said, I know. I've been storing it out there because I want to use it as um, molding and stuff in here in the house as I'm trying to finish up. So yeah, that's what he said. He's got some old metal and stuff that needs to go too. So I've got too many piles of crap, but one of these days I'm gonna put it in my trailer because there are stuff, like I said, that had a use that is not useful now, but it's only used now is to go to the scrap. Um, which that's okay, you know. At least it still has a use. But cheers, is it time? Oh yeah. Oh wow. Let me hit this other one. I know the conversation went from time and warp and stuff like that to pellet rifles and and all this other stuff. But anyway, I stayed on track for an hour or so. But um, just all these other things. My pipes are awesome. Yeah, you weren't around when I bought this one here recently. Man, I got to looking at it and the artwork on it up close. You can kind of see like leaves and the details really intricate. And I'm like, how in the hell they it, I really like it. I really like it. But anyway, um so yeah, I was not necessarily bored, but I hadn't visited with y'all for a while. And but have been busy. I mean, you ought to see the pile of clay that's out in my yard right now, and the stuff that I've done and clean up around here, and the yard work, and more burn piles and stuff. And I made a joke the other day with my granddaughter. I said, I said, there's wandering Jew all over my yard and place around here. She goes, Grandpa, wandering Jew? I said, yeah. I said, they haven't found Moses yet, and they're just all over the place. And she kind of giggled. And I thought, that was probably racist or something. But, I kind of thought it was funny. I was like, because I mean, and Ken can vouch for this. There's some uh, uh, wandering Jew that had took over that just got out of a pot one day, and it's all down in my woods and in the backyard. It's covering everywhere. In some places, it's like this thick. It's a great ground cover. I mean, it'll hold the ground down and protect it, but it's also beyond invasive. This stuff, you can literally watch it grow. It's amazing, but but anyway, so I was thinking about, all this wandering Jew. I said, it must be still looking for Moses. Uh, I've saw one the other day. The veil gets thinner. We're in some kind of paradox shift. We don't belong here. The veil gets thinner. I agree with you. In grade school, the teachers would say, "Okay, let's all sit on the floor, Indian style." Now that I'm older, like what? Yeah, I can sort of sit Indian style. It's my back that bothers me now, not so much my legs. But yeah, now my uncle Roger Null, who still lives up around Cincinnati, he's like 86 years old, is in perfect health. He started doing yoga back in the late 60s, was way ahead of the curve, okay? But he still practices it. In his 60s, when he retired, he and some friends made a video about how seniors should do yoga to stay fit and young and healthy. Well, he's fit and healthy, but unfortunately, he has old timers disease and can't remember shit. And so, but he's healthy in body and everything. But for whatever reason, his brain went. But so him and a lot of other people are proof that just simple yoga exercises and stretches will help you live longer. Period. And my going out in the yard and do there's also a type of Tai Chi, right? You've seen them do it, and there are classes you can take. There are people in place. Well, I don't have that, right? But years ago, there were several things that I learned, and David Carradine was one of them, and some was another Tai Chi master, and then some other things I learned from other folks, um relating to like Tai Chi, but it's that the motion, so that with every push there's a pull, and for every up there is a down, and for every in there's an out. And so when you move, so you move to stretch your muscles all in one direction, and then you hold it, and then you go in the opposite direction, in the same kind of way. So, in that, if you don't know Tai Chi or someone hasn't taught you, the motion of it, if you just watch a video of how the motion of it, and the hands and the up and the down and the left and the right, you can create your own Tai Chi of stretching and motion. And it's not about how fast or whether or not you're right with what you're doing, because I was really into technique, and I wasn't getting the right answers. But then when I tried to find the right answers, there were masters in Tai Chi who were like that. Well, these are like common things, but then you will develop your own style. And then you'll know that you'll do. And I was like, well, so which is right? You know, you do it this way or that way. What the WTF, right? So, but here's the thing, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it right or wrong. It's the fact that you're trying, and then that your intent is good. But now, if you got somebody to teach you some Tai Chi or some of those types of movements, and when I'm doing it, I think of moving energies, and not necessarily pushing energy, but kind of pushing, but also then pulling energy with me. Like there is different kinds of dance and things, so that you pull the energy in from like your stomach and push it up to the sky, and then but as you have your hands up, then you also take the energy from the sky and then you bring it down, and then you it's a flow left and a flow right. So but here's the thing, it's time to be doing these things for our bodies because there's so many frequencies and stuff. The only way we can keep up with it is keep our bodies tuned. Okay. So by moving ourselves, whether it be in music but it's the motion of the body in different positions. But thinking about Tai Chi, um, there's a lot to be said for the Tai, easy for you to say, the Tai Chi movement of the arms, of the yin and the yang, and the in and the out, and the up and the down. And it's good for the body and also certain simple yoga exercises. So for us old folks, because I'm 69, uh, it's a running joke. But to the point though, um, not to say that my uncle Roger did not try to keep his mind healthy. Okay. I don't think he was into smoking weed or anything like that. I mean, he was a pretty, level headed gentleman. So the fact that he has Alzheimer's disease is just, that's a shame for all the people that I've known and met, and many who passed away because of it, but it is a shame. But he's in his 80s and is healthy. So in that respect, um, you know, I guess something's going to get you at the end, right? Um, but it kept him healthy for a lot longer than his brothers and sisters, okay, that he's outlived. So how do we want to end our lives as healthy as possible, right? So some of the things we can do are very simple. And it's time because as time continues to march on, regardless of whatever warpage or whoever is controlling it, we control our own time with our own bodies. This is connected at the end, okay? But we control the time we spend with the universe. We control our time with ourselves and how we meditate and how we associate our things with natural things, right? Which carries over to other people and how we interact with other people and so forth. But I mean, we have to take time for ourselves. If we don't keep ourselves tuned, because there's all this weird energy we're not used to, uh, we're going to have to do some tweaking along the way. We're just going to have, and there's going to be some folks that are going to be twerking along the way. But God Almighty, see, I'm in a strange mood today. Um, Soft metals and everything. Yep. Deodorant causes. Yep. 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 For and to your point, Greenie, um, if you use an antiperspirant, you're killing yourself. Okay. Period. And deodorant now is deodorant and not necessarily is bad for you. Antiperspirant with the aluminum carbohydrate stuff is killing you. Okay, I haven't. I um I make sure that what I'm using is just a cover to cover up the stink. You know what I mean? Um, I sweat like a horse. Always have. I've got that sweaty underarms thing. Have had it for a long time. But I used to use antiperspirant, and my arms stayed red and chafed and things and stuff. And also for me, if you use those dryer sheets in your dryer, there's whatever is in that is not good for you. Okay, because uh, and I use my own body for that, but I know other people, and they itch all the time, and I'm like, do you use dryer sheets? Yeah. Well, stop using them. Well, what's that got to do with it? Well, did you used to itch before you used them? Well, I don't remember. Well, when did you start itching? Well, wait a minute, well, guess what? You started using them dryer sheets, and now you itch all the time, and now you have an allergy. Well, you're putting this shit into your clothes, all this smell good fragrancy thing. You got plug-ins, fresheners that go off all the time. You don't have a clue what you're smelling, right? And so many people's desensitized to it. But the dryer sheets, and you've got to go once you get if you don't if you quit using dryer sheets, because I did this, okay, the stuff that's in them will stick in the dryer, and you got to go through several cycles without a dryer sheet in it for there not to be that static cling stuff that kind of sticks to the dryer, the inside of the drum. My ex-wife, I bitched at her. I was like, look, don't put my clothes in the dryer. I will hang them on the line. Do not put them in the dryer. You're using them dryer sheets. And I itched all the time, and I quit using the dryer sheets, and just dried them normal, blah blah blah. Well, but they cling together. Who cares? But your point, there's so many ways that people are poisoning themselves, and they just are taking it for granted, right? But I don't use dryer sheets. I don't use these other things, and I don't have the issues that was normal back in the day. Itching, scratchy, crotch issues. I mean, just having to use powders, and I just don't have those issues anymore. But I don't use all of those things that most people use, like dryer sheets and stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, we can control our time and space, or join the time warp of other people in society. So, but when we take nature back, used to tell me to never stay in bathwater long is bad for us. Yeah, now see one thing, for the bath thing, if I want to get clean, I'm taking a shower because it goes off of me. If I take a bath and I stand up and I got soap, I'm not clean. I do not feel clean taking a bath. Period. And I don't have a bathtub. I only have a shower. Now I got a huge hot tub in my bathroom that I haven't used in several years. But if I'm going to take a bath, it ain't going to be to wash. It ain't going to be to get clean. It's going to be to soak, you know? But I have never uh, like taking a bath. Because you stand up and the film just covers you, So, but to get in the bath to soak, and, oh, yeah, but no, not for getting clean. Shower. He quit taking baths and showers with faucet water. Yeah. Your water's toxic there. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm cleaning out down here. I need to continue drilling my well in the backyard. Um, I've cleaned up around them. Isby, you don't have a jacket anymore. cleaned up around the well because I've got 2,000 gallons worth of rainwater that I've collected over the years. And actually, the water is not recently because the tanks have been full for a while. But I make my coffee with it if I want to wash something really, really, really clean because I have clay in my water, right? Then I use the rainwater. But I know that everybody can't do this. And I've had some people make remarks, well, you sure are lucky. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you're so lucky you got 18 acres. Well, what do you mean lucky? I've worked my ass off. I have been I am still, ask Gidby, I am still uh, uh homestead in this place you know I'm still um but this idea that somehow I got lucky. Now I was lucky that I found this guy that I could buy the property from. That was lucky, but that's been 40 years ago. But this idea that somehow I lucked up on this, no, I planned this 40 years ago. Okay, so this idea of someone, well, you're lucky you, no, please. I was smart. Luck had nothing to do with it. I have sweated. I've been so close to losing this place from the bank and and the government and helicopters overhead with high-powered rifles and the GBI. I've been invaded. Now you got to work at it. You're going to homestead a place. You will stay on it no matter what. And you will pay for it. You will work hard. You will sweat and blood, you know. Um, but so this idea that somehow I'm lucky, am I lucky that I got it? Yeah, I was lucky 40 years ago, but somehow, well, look at you. You've got your land and you could do, look, you can do it too, but you got to look for it. You got to find it. You got to make the commitment. You got to quit talking about it and do something. You know. So not for any of you in particular, but um, there's some of these folks that somehow I lucked up and that this came to me easily. It's still a bitch. Okay, it's still a chore. I am still homesteading this place. So, what's luck got to do with it? Persistence. That's what I got to say about it. But anyway, I'll always joke I'm moving to Aruba. You're moving in not to drink water. I don't get, but to all of this, um, you know, the whole thing is that it's not about luck. Now, some people do luck up on things and chances and stuff, um, and that's great. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But when you make that commitment, a lot of people that give up on, the homestead thing, I've put in close to 40 years now. Uh, you know, this coming year will be 40 years that I've had this property. So, but it took me a year and a half to move on the property, because of things there was nothing on it. It was just property. So I've dug my own well. I've done, I use trees on the property for poles in my barn. I use trees on the property for, the house. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. I had to saw and cut and scrape and peel the logs. And, I mean, there are folks that are like, yeah, well, I'm going to build you. Okay, let me see you do it. I am in my log house, kind of, sort of. Termites got into it. I've rebuilt it twice, but I'm still here. Um, but I would like to see that kind of commit with some of these other people who talk a good line, but I'm still here after 40 years. Now I've still got places that need to be fixed in my house and that kind of thing. um, that was me, Greenie. That's what I wanted to do here. and there's a sign at the property that says, Little Ocklackney River Hermitage. I figured there would be people who would want to, uh, you know, have a small community, but it. There were folks here at one time, but everybody was for themselves. Nobody wanted to do any work. They always, well, he can do it. Well, I don't have time. Well, I want to do this. Well, that hurts my back. And, so to be truly honest to God, work your ass off, be committed. Uh, you have to, you got to really, really seriously want it. And a lot of people talk a line, but they just don't have the commitment. You know, because it's hard work. So um, and it's still hard work. And I'm not bitching about it, but it's hard works. It's hard work. The ganja shaman lives in Aruba, Hawkeye. I got you. One is, yeah. And Greenie, I'm still here on my 18 acres that I'm so lucky to have. Uh, hearing some of these people talk and point their finger at me like somehow, this has like been, just given to me. Sorry, but no. But I would still accept folks that wanted to help and do and saw the the prospects, like here in the swamp and stuff and doing and whatever and and gardening and just the whole 9 yards, right? So, I talk about my good friend Rob, that he we think a lot in that. He's half my age, ish. Um and so when you find somebody that has that core value of the value of trees and land and stuff, versus it's about money or this and that. It's the intrinsic value. Um, yeah, vagrants. That's exactly right, Travis. I mean, there are times when it's cold that you got to go cut firewood. There are times when something happens and you just have to do it, Um, now I know I'm working on my porch and it's been going on 3 years that I started this dead gum project. But honest to God, I can start seeing the end of this thing. But I chose to do this. I was having water issues coming into the house. I have fixed that, especially with all the water we had this summer. It only flooded my kitchen twice and only minimally. Where had we had this rain over the years before, my kitchen would have been flooded every other day with the amount of water that we were getting because it was coming up through the foundation and my porch. And what I've done with moving the foundation further uphill, I've stopped the influx of water into my house. It was just coming up through the floor and it stopped. So this has been a worthwhile project. Um, Whether the greenhouse idea actually works or not, it stopped the water coming in the house. So um, because I'm 2 foot below where the foundation is now, um, I thought about putting a yurt up for another family to help on the property and greenhouse. Uh, Here, have you seen the yurts? Really? I mean, really, you'd be better off buying them a teepee but a good tent or something. But um, remember, yurts are just big tents. Okay, there are people like, "Ooh, a yurt." It's a big tent. Okay. Oh, but it's a yurt. It's a big tent. Okay. It's a yurt. It's a big tent. Yeah, but this yurt, yeah, I know they're really cool. It's a big tent. All right. But it's a big tent. Just keep that in mind. I'm not saying a lot of people who live in big tents, but somehow because it has the name yurt, it's somehow special. It's a big tent, you know. Oh, but it's a big tent. All right. I have seen yurts and seen them. Oh, but it's got a floor and it's a big tent. It's got canvas walls. Okay. Now I've been in teepees, sure enough, nice lodges that have double walls in them with, with mats and blankets on the ground, and that was very warm and very comfortable. The yurts, because they're up and around, was much colder. Now you had more headroom and stuff, but if it was cold or whatever, I would take a teepee over a yurt any day. All right, having been in both and lived in some in teepees, but anyway, so people was like, my dear friend Marcy passed away this year. Oh, I want a yurt and blah blah blah, and I was like, honey, you don't really like tents, okay? But tents are fine for camping and everything. But she was like, well, the tent and it's fine for camping, but oh, I want a yurt. Okie dokie. But a yurt's a tent, right? So anyway, my best friend is uh Marcy. Yeah, yeah. We'd been friends for over 40 years, and she passed away this last February. Uh, I already miss her in that we used to go all kinds of weird and crazy places, and I miss that. We would have been camping and stuff by now and things, and I do miss being able to do that with her. But I'm I'm not saying that yurts are bad. That's not what I mean. But there are people who say a yurt. Do you know it's a tent? That's all I'm saying. Do you know it's a tent? A tiny house on wheels is ideal. Yep, I agree with that, Pearl. And one of the things that I had designed years ago as part of because I'm a carny, right? And we built a trailer out there that's got side awnings and everything, and I've got a showing a big ass popcorn popper, like the size that you would see in a movie theater or at a carnival. Okay, it's that big. And I also have a cotton candy machine because back in the day, my brother and I went around to different places and sold cotton candy and popcorn, and drinks. That was our shtick, right? So different colors and flavors of cotton candy. I learned how to use uh, um, um, Kool-Aid to color the sugar with, and I could get all kinds of different colors, and the kids just loved the lime greens and purples that I could come up with cotton candy. But anyway, um, but I got the trailer. So in it, I had designed ways. And I never finished it, but I designed ways to where if I went somewhere, I could stay in the trailer without having to rent a place or whatever. But you can't uh, you can't sleep on the counters technically, uh, because the health department frowns on that kind of thing. So, but I had worked out a way to where there was a bunk that was overhead out of the way during the day, and working that would let down, so I wouldn't sleep on the counters. But I'd use the counter to get up in the bunk, kind of thing. So, but there's in the carny business, we had lots of ways that we crammed little sleeping places in the back of a truck or in a stock truck or stuff like that. And so it depends on how you want to do it. But when I first moved to Arkansas, way back when, I used to have an old paddy wagon that we cut the center plate out of. It was an honest to God real paddy wagon. It was a Black Mariah from Columbus, Georgia, and I bought it in a field. Uh, I mean, in a field down cows and down, and the damn thing started right up. But um, and drove it all over Georgia and Florida. Took it out to Arkansas and spent 5 or 6 weeks in the Ozark, camped up showing up without any electricity or nothing, just kerosene and candles, and sure enough roughed it. But We had water. We had I had rigged up a hot water heater thing that went up on top of the paddy wagon. We had a tent room that snapped onto the side of the truck, and I had made it in the truck to where uh, there was a table that folded down over the steering wheel, and it turned into the kitchen. There was we it was all set up. We had uh, not running water, but we had easy water, and because the places we had picked, there was water there, and creeks nearby. But Yeah, we lived in the Ozarks, just sure enough, up in the hills with no electricity or nothing, um, and did it with ease. I mean, we did it with ease because I planned ahead of time. So, there are still places that you can do that. And, if I were to do that again, I had thought about it, and Isby and I had talked about it. I said, if I was, a younger man, um, of all the old carnies, they all had a bread truck. They all had some kind of bread truck kind of van, and they used it to put their joint in, and they stayed in it wherever they went. They had a bunk, they had a little kitchenette, they had whatever they needed right there in it. But they also, when it came time for Saturday night and tear down, the joint went in the truck. But to travel as far as if you could get a mobile home, or if you could drive a Winnebago or whatever around, if you can afford that. But if you can't, to just get an old bread truck or that kind of a, vehicle, that type of van, and fix it up yourself, it's a whole lot cheaper, and probably a whole lot cheaper on gas and everything. But if I had the choice to do it, and who knows, I might still do it. But that would be the way to go, because you got your house, you got shelter, you got space, and and create what you want on the inside. And you can put an awning on it, so you can expand your space to around you, depending on where you are, and a couple of tarps and some rope and a bungee cord here or there, or whatever, and you can create a lot of outdoor space. That could semi attached to your bread truck thing. So it depends on what you want to do with your space and how you want to do it. Meet me on the creek bank. We will eat fish together. Someone mentioned fish tacos. Wow, I've not. You know what? I have had sort of like a fish taco. I had fish today. That semi PC strapped to a tree, running three monitors with eyeballs on them. Yeah, I'm fixing to get out of here too. It's almost 3 o'clock. Yeah, I stayed up way later than my bedtime. But see now, that kratom that I took earlier has had some kind of effect on me, and 3 hours and 13 minutes has like zoomed by even faster than normal. Okay. Yeah, an old panel wagon, yeah. But mine was an honest to God, Barry, you would have loved it. It was a real honest to God Black Mariah paddy wagon. It had big red lights on it that flashed back and forth. It had chrome bars on the back, so you could ride on the back and hold on. It had three, one in the middle and one on either side. It had double doors in the back. It had three walls. It had dual wheels. It was heavier than, but it had a six-cylinder in it, 4 speed on the floor, and open up the doors and tool through the countryside, man. It was great. No air conditioning or nothing, but just open them big sliding doors, and ride down the highway, playing some tunes. It was great. And wherever I went, all it took was, finding a halfway level spot, and it always kind of leaned forward a little bit, so, but I had a couple of blocks that I just drove them up on it, and it would almost level the truck almost instantly, no matter where we went. But some old carny tricks and here and there, and being a gypsy the way I've always been. But so you want a way to travel, find you a bread truck or something like that, an old panel truck, and fix it up. And because there's lots of stuff you can add to it. There's things that you can pull out of the truck, and like one of those 10 by 10 pop-up tents, they're really cheap, and you can pull one of them things out and pop it up outside, and you just got a 10 by 10 space. You got 100, so, but anyway, so lots of things you can do um, that are easy now because I have this place. But you know, depending on how things work out, um, who knows? I might invest in something like that. Um, my friend was talking about the truck that he's got and everything, but with his truck, um, not I drove it today, and it's really not. There's some issues with it. It's an older model, but it drives nice. It's a full size truck compared to mine. I mean, it's a full size truck. I have to climb into it versus slide, into my Mazda. But I still kind of have the same issues that I have with my pickup truck, right? I gotta set up a tent. There's nothing I can just walk into. So the more I've been thinking about this, is like I do need another vehicle, but it might not necessarily be the one I want to travel in. So if I could find an old panel truck somewhere that I could still pull my trailer behind, then I wouldn't have to set up a tent. Me and Duggar would stay right in the panel truck. I would do what I did with that old um, paddy wagon, and I'd fix it up so there's a bunk in there and storage, and I had a chemical toilet that stayed in there, so we didn't have to look for a bathroom. We had water storage in there and an air pump thingy, so and a small sink, you know. So it if you're going to live in a small space um, and still need to get around, uh, you know, something like that. I'm thinking of a $10 gallon gas coming, not going ambulance. Yeah, 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 an old ambulance. Yeah, blackened catfish tacos. Hmm. I remember. I'm not much into blackened fish. To me, I thought it was overrated. Maybe I didn't have it right, but yeah, it's time to get a Tesla. It's time to get a wind machine. It's time to get a sailboat. you anyway, there was I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was a dream, but I think there was a book that somehow the prairie schooners, right, back in the day of when they were crossing the going to California, in them old covered wagons. Having been to Donner's Pass and seen some of them wagons, the I don't see how they traveled in the damn things. But oh my God, and they went up into how they got them damn um, wagons up the mountain? Oh my God! But anyway, we think we got it tough, right? But just seeing the wagons, I was like, but there was something back in the day where they literally put sails on the wagons, and maybe it was just a dream or something. But they literally sailed the wagons across the prairie. I thought it was cool. I use it to haul pipe. See, Maverick, that's one of the things I want to do on my hill up here. I want to take the dirt and be able to go into the hill just enough, and I want to make me a hobbit home that is made with uh um They've got different types of material now, but that you can basically make the frame out of wire and then put the concrete on it, kind of thing. So I wanted to just make it a clay color because there's red Georgia clay around here, right? And but basically wanted just a hobbit home, was thinking about using old tires as a base and doing rammed earth up to a point, and but then using local the local clay with concrete um, to make it look sort of like a Southwest, style adobe kind of thing in a way, um, and let it meld in with the hill up here. So there's a couple of spots that I've looked at over the years, and I ain't dead yet. So it's a project that I've told my friend. I said over the years I would love to see just a little one room hobbit home kind of thing with a simple little kitchenette, one or two burners on something, just a little thing, a nice little place for a bed or a little, and not a lot of storage or anything, very simple. And the older I get, I can see where simple is more easier. Kind of not necessarily Spartan with nothing, but just minimal. You know. But anyway, so yeah, I'm in that. My little homestead has a good channel on it. I'm up dirtbag houses. Yeah. And see, I got a crap load of dirt here, and I've got all this clay. I seriously was looking into like making my own brick kind of thing. Um, but the issue with, and I've got a crap load of clay, like acres of clay, right? And an old roadbed up here that's easy to get to the clay. But it's, for me, and depending on whether or not you got a lot of money and resources, which I don't have, if you go back to the old way of things, it's very difficult to make the brick and fire them and do all that kind of stuff yourself. But there are other ways of using the clay and resources. So, like earth bags and stuff like these, but these are like sandbag. Yep. Uh huh. Right, to cover them up. Right. I've studied that. Yeah. I want to use a similar method using some of the similar stuff that's here. But yeah, I'm with you, Maverick. Yep. Yep. If it smells like cologne, leave it alone. Yeah, the geodesic dome builds with sandbags and dirt. Yeah, Walmart bags are out of the way. Yeah, that's very true. Yep. A burlap bag is what you need. A cloth bag. They will rot too, but it will hold the dirt for a while. Yeah. But anyway, my dear friends, it's 3:05. I'm not staying for another 20. I got to go to the toity, and I, like I said, I've had a couple of very busy days. So y'all stay healthy. Wealth is a matter of thought. You know, I don't have much money, but it's the best I can do. You can tell everybody this is my song. I hope you don't mind that I put down in the words how wonderful life is. Now you're in the world. Anyway, Elton John, right? But so y'all be healthy, stay, wealth is a matter of perspective. There have been rich people who've lost everything and couldn't get along in the world and jumped off of buildings and shit. You couldn't use the dome inside the hill is to make it. Yeah. Um, the top of my driveway coming into my property is the original Zion Grove Church Road. It's the old roadbed with the ditches and everything. Okay. And over the years, they've moved the road twice. But at the top of my driveway is the old roadbed going down. And if there was any place, because it's already down lower, but it would take equipment and everything, would be to excavate the old roadbed, and because it's already down, the the ditches are quite high there, and so you're already down in there. Um, but because it's clay, I would be concerned about showing up digging a hole in the clay, and like living in the mountain versus some other place. Like if you lived in a place where there was up in Ohio and some other places, there's a lot of sandstone. You can carve right into sandstone, and um, but this clay down here, don't necessarily know you could do that, because I've dug my well out of clay and watching and seeing how it acts inside the earth over these years. Uh, you probably could and get away with it, but it would be very small. Yeah, I mean, really small. So, depending on where you are, but to take and build into the hill and then kind of landscape back around it, that's sort of what I had in mind, Maverick. But anyway, I'm tired and I got to go to the toity and stretch my bones, and wish you all good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you, Barry, for hanging out. Thank you all for being here. I was I was being lonely and wanted to have a chat with y'all just because. So uh, it's uh, it's cool that y'all are here and that you're as well as possible. So until next time, my dear friends, please be safe. And the thing about the time warp, you know, there are some time warpy things around us, that are just, you scratch your head and go, "Was that here yesterday?" Just saying. So yeah, no problem, Barry. I wish it wasn't so late, but uh, can you make pot? Can you make pots out of it? Oh, the clay, Travis. The answer is yeah, yeah. You have to strain it and everything, yeah, but it's a really nice red clay. And then down deeper, like at the bottom of the well, is the white clay, and but it fires totally different. There are some local potters that have mined. They have their own little special places around here where they get it. And one of the guys that I've known, I don't know if he's still alive because he was a little older than me at the time, but he did his pottery was called Ancient Hands, and he did pottery much like the old way, and and taught classes and everything. So rather than do it in big shiny kilns and stuff, he did it with uh, wood fire, and would make a, a fire his pots in a totally different way, right? The old way. So, but anyway, he went by Ancient Hands Pottery, and using local clays from down here. So, I had a friend of mine, and he was into pottery big time, and he was staying here for a while. And I was trying to get John to, like, listen, you're really good at this. We've got all these literally right here on the property, all these resources, and even had access to build our own kiln kind of thing. All this wood, we could do it the old way, and he just wouldn't follow through on it. But in that, I've known a lot of potters over the years and folks who threw clay, and so it's here, and I've tried it. We've done some ancient burn kind of things, but to the point, yes, there's clay, and it can be thrown. Yeah, make a structure out of a dead. I know. I'm too old. Okay, it takes a lot of freaking work and or equipment, and I don't have any equipment, and so digging all this stuff out by hand is really super. I'm gonna take some pictures of the clay that I dug out just for this footer. I've dug my clay, my my well, 22 foot deep. It's very, very difficult to dig in this clay. It is very freaking difficult. I just, it is very, I will repeat, it is very freaking difficult. That's what I was thinking. Well, see, I want to do that, but I want to dig into it for the materials, but then I don't want it to be in the hill, but part of the hill. But I was thinking the same thing, building a big ass fire on the inside and fire in the clay after I did it. You're absolutely right. I was thinking about that. Yep. And yep, yeah, it would be a big oven. It'd have to be, it's got to be about 7 foot tall, because I'm like 5'10" and a half, 5'11", and I've got a short ceiling in here where the loft is in the house, but it's too low. It's just too low. So, and normal ceilings in houses are 8 feet. So, a 7 foot roof is like minimum, because if you go to put on a shirt, a 6 foot tall person is going to hit his hands on the roof, on the ceiling, right? Also, it will get very hot if there's not any ventilation with a low ceiling. So, but you don't want a high ceiling, but so anyway, in digging this cave in the hole and everything, yeah. But see, making the brick, it's the digging it. If I had a backhoe or something, but see, it's just me and a shovel, and it's difficult to dig that shit. Okay, we used to dig the water pipes out by hand. Yeah. Uh, but then you got to float. Well, not if you're making brick. But to do the amount of brick that I would need, I need to make I would have to make some type of a kiln, just because, right? But in looking at other types and methods, but y'all got, I have thought about each one of the things that you're talking about. And at some point I was like, would like to try a little bit of all of them as just an experiment. You know what I mean? Yeah, ventilation, exactly. I've got a big cast iron. This person made it as I think as a smoker. I mean, this thing, you can't pick it up. It's so heavy. I mean, it's made out of plate steel and well, not cast iron, but it's heavy duty. Okay, and you could put a blower on it. For what I wanted to do was put a makeshift blower on it and fire use it as a kiln. And so, but to the point, it's big enough that you could make a few brick and fire it in there to that point. Um, yeah, I've got a hippie hot tub. But it's in the house. It's made out of brick. Yeah. Now the other side of the coin is I've got a lot of old brick around here, which I'm using. I'm fixing to pour some, brick on to finish up the house out there. Damn, it's 5 more minutes. I'm gonna have to load one here, because if I'm gonna be here for 5 more minutes, then I'm gonna smoke one at the 20. That's just all there is to it. Uh, Dragon breath stoves are badass. I've actually got a coal stove here in the house now, but I have burnt with firewood almost all my life. I mean, since I've been in Georgia, there's only been a couple of times for short periods I that I didn't burn with wood. I figured out a way to, because I couldn't afford gas or whatever. I just didn't make enough money, and so people were like, "Well, but no, y'all going broke. I'm gonna figure out." I mean, had made a stove out of a steel drum back in the day. You can make a really good one with a steel drum. Um, But yeah, one of the things by being able to get these windows and everything in from my backyard is so that I can clear out back over where the heater is for the hot tub, 'cause, I really wanna start using my hot tub. It's here, and I figured out how to do low voltage, water, but it's still a pain in the ass to heat the water. Um, I've looked into several different methods, um, from what I've got. And my hot tub is built into it is the bathroom, okay? Most of my bathroom is the hot tub. And made a lot of brick and everything. Well, under the seat on the back side of the house, which I can't get to at the moment because I've got stuff leaning up against it, windows, that I want to use in my house, in the shed. But anyway, uh, but that you could build a fire in the firebox under the seat there, for the hot tub, so it heats the rock, the brick, that you can actually feel when you sit on it, and it's outside. Um, and I had a way to circulate the water through it, but the coil that I used for my heat exchanger sucked and was very inefficient. It worked, but it was very inefficient. So over the years, the hot tub was less of an issue. But now, as old as I am, and I hurt and everything, and a nice warm bath would be nice. Um, is and it's just being useless. I need to make it useful again, but I got to clear out around it, and I've got a new design for a heat a heat exchange to fit in the firebox that's part of the house. So, I just haven't had a chance to build it. But I'm working on all these things. I'm still here. Can I rent a spot on your land? Sure. Well, I don't know about the weed part, because I've already been busted for growing weed on my property. There's a big X on the map in Georgia from the GBI. They know where I live and they know what I do. I don't grow it anymore, but um, no, but there's plenty of land here to be gardened and could be gardened. Especially if I could get this other well in down here. You know, it's 20. Yep. But I got lots of other material after I finish all this out here on the house. I got plenty of other material and windows to build some more greenhouses. Because over the last couple of years, everything I've tried to grow in the garden has been eaten by moles and voles and stuff that crawl up through the ground that eat your shit and you don't know it. And the other thing is by moths and different types of caterpillars and things. And so I want to be able to control these things better. So I got plenty of dirt, plenty of land, lots of places to spread out. But I'm tired of putting stuff in the ground to have Mother Nature or some critter that Mother Nature has put out there, like ants and shit, to take over and kill whatever I plant and all my hard work. So I haven't spent any time in the garden because I want to turn my garden into a greenhouse so I can control these issues. So many important things we can do together. Yes. And here's the thing, um, I ain't moving anytime soon. I'm going to be here. So I've made the offer to so many people over the years, and I'm still like, if somebody wants to come and can make themselves fit in kind of thing, which ain't really hard to do. But um, there's a lot that with 18 acres of property, even though it's swampland, there's still things that you can do, and there's still things, you know, there's ways that you could grow crawdads, there are ways to grow fish, there's ways to do these other things. And, um, but being by myself and with limited resources, you know, it's just the way it is, which is fine. But, you know, there are so many other things that there would be extra here on the property, with just a little extra help and a little extra equipment, just a little extra, which I've not had. It's hard to dig a pond with a shovel, you know, it really is. I've tried. And I've got a little pond up on the hill, but it's it's really it's just really difficult. Now there are people that have access to like a little backhoe or something, or a tractor or something like that. I don't. Everything I do is with an axe or a shovel or a chainsaw. But I mean, my power tools, are very limited. I don't have access to backhoes and things. Other people do. They've got the money and the resources. I've done all this shit by hand. Okay. So I'm not trying to brag, but people say, well, why don't you do this? Because all I got's a shovel. Well, why don't you go get a backhoe? Because I'm poor. That's why. If I had money, I'd already had it done. Why don't you get a backhoe? Don't you think I know that? But yeah, if you don't have this, and all you got's a shovel, you do the best you can. But oh, if I had just a little bit more resources, the stuff I could do with a very small backhoe, front loader thingy, little Kubota thingy that I could get around in and down here in the woods. Oh my God. But I have what I got. I grow the best I ever smoked. Yeah. Yeah. I used to grow some very excellent weed here back in the day before folks were even growing weed. I mean, back in the 80s, I was growing weed here. And not to say that y'all don't know, but, uh, you know, we were, in a way, we were hybridizing and we didn't know it, but man, we had some killer ass shit. So, and I miss growing it. I really do. I found it very rewarding and fun to grow it, and I wished I could do it again. Uh, there's a lot we can do being in distance too. Yes, yeah, we can. I agree with you. There you go with the shrooms again. It'd be having had shrooms a lot all the time. I would much rather have the weed because the shrooms get old. The shrooms get old. Having tripped over 500 plus times myself with acid and shrooms and stuff, because I live beside a mushroom field. I had access to all that, and it gets old. It literally gets old to where you just don't want it anymore. And so, I would be careful what you wish for. But because I've had it and had all the mushrooms and all that over the years, and I've used to keep them in the freezer, and I'd trade it for weed because I had mushrooms and couldn't get weed. But the having mushrooms all the time, and well, I'll just have a little bit at the time. I know you want a microdose, and I'm here to tell you, be careful what you wish for, because then your brain just reaches a point where it just says, no, go away. I don't want no more, you know? And then it's almost like for me over the years, people have said, "Well, come on, let's do." No, I'm sorry, you go ahead. I don't even want to do them anymore. Um, Now, if was out picking mushrooms and I knew what I was getting for sure, instead of what somebody told me they were, maybe. Um, and I have seriously, like, this is about the time of year to go looking for them too, because it's wet and damp, and so October, November, especially if you know how to look for them. But um, the idea, though, that I would much rather be stoned every day than microdose every day because I've done them both. Yeah. If Georgia ever allows it, I'll be back in business before you know it. But anyway, I've tripped so much over the years where other folks have not. And oh, I want to, and Isby, I've already told you this, but for other folks, oh, I want to do it as a this and this, but yeah, but then, and Brian Barnett and I talked about this, uh, you know, when we first got together on our channels. And we both agreed that, we'd kind of pretty much had enough, and that other people were like, well, I want to do it like this. And we were like, you might not really, but after you've done it, you can't take it back. You can't take it back. It's there. You can't take it back. Especially if you're really tripping, sure enough, you can't take it back. 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 You know what I mean? I swear, there are times when I have had spiritual connections with, like just having a little bit of good weed, but just being happy and in a good mood, to where I have tripped in a natural way that honestly, because it was natural, I could remember it. Whereas if I was doing shrooms or something, it would be so there would be so much information going on that there was very hard the next day or whatever to remember specific things. It was all very enlightening and etc. But you couldn't really put your finger on any particular things. But doing it naturally, with breathing and things and stuff, just naturally, and reaching a state of, um, I guess in a way it'd be like nirvana, but that you remember it the next day. Okay. Where doing all the acid and mushrooms and everything I've done, the next day it was like, wow, what a strange trip. And wow, it's like you really try, I mean, like struggle to explain where you were, what the feeling was, and how you saw it, and the moment is gone. But when you experience it in the natural sense, in the natural realm, you remember it vividly, you know. And doing the micro dosing for like a week in a row, and doing meditation and all that kind of stuff, it was like the whole thing ended up being a blur. It was very experiential at the time, but at the end of the day, at the end of the week, and you stopped and turned back and looked back and you went, wow, that was really cool, but I can't remember a flipping thing specifically. And you try and you go, but, and the feeling was like, and it was like, but there is nothing specific you can remember about the event. During it, it was really eventful, but after the fact. So in my all the times of tripping, looking for the answer through tripping, a lot of times it wasn't there when you woke up. You experienced it, you had it, it was there, but you can't remember it because it was so overwhelming to the senses, to the sights, to everything, right? So, but to have the experience with just like, a little bit of smoke and, but, some just a good place and a good vibe. And, and when you allow the energy to come into you from the universe and you have those moments of transcendental, like through a drum or through a dance, and you feel it without any kind of peyote or anything like that, and you make that connection, you go, oh shit, because you remember it the next day. You know, it's not just in the moment. So, but anyway, that's my little discussion about that. But it'd be, I know, uh, you know, y'all go ahead and do what y'all got to do. But there are many of us who have had too much and listened to people who wish they had too much in a way. And I just have to be that person in the room that says, just be careful what you wish for. That's all. Because it may not end up the way you think, because it didn't for me, to the point where I don't even want to do shrooms or LSD or any kind of psychedelics ever again because I had too much. And in a way, that's a shame. Yeah. Yeah. If if I was a younger man, and I would have done found mushrooms by now. There are new cow fields. The cow fields I used to go to and stuff, everything's changed. But there are different cow fields, but you just can't walk into the middle of the field. Okay. You got to find a place, somebody got to drop you off. You got to kind of sneak in. You got to be clandestine and a ninja. Okay. So you got to be a ninja mushroom hunter. But um, I haven't had the urge in so long because I had too much. You trip, and some people say, "Well, no, Dave, you didn't trip 500 times. How do you know that?" Well, because I know how much acid I bought. I know how many I took. I know how I microdosed for like a month with LSD. And and how many mushrooms I had, and how many we would take, and how many doses, and and 500 times is probably on the shy side. I probably have tripped more than that. So it's not bragging. It ain't, but it is the truth. There was one time I remember, it was me and Bob Flummerfelt, and he was staying here, and I'd had an operation on one of my first operations on my neck. And it was like, man, we were always taught looking for mushrooms and tripping, right? And I had just moved down here good. Had moved away from my mushroom field, but had found some around here. So his wife dropped us off at a local field a couple miles down the road, which unfortunately isn't a cow field anymore because I checked. They turned it into a chicken plantation. But anyway, um, we hopped over the fence, right, and sneaking through the cow pasture, and we're going to all our local haunts because we'd been in this field before. And I hear this giggle from, because I don't know, he's like 30 or 40 feet away, and we're all checking our spots. And I look down and I spot this little nub that's about this big around, had not opened yet. It was just that nub, right? And I looked down and went, oh my goodness. And something said, eat me, pick me, eat me, right? So I said, and it was just this little button, right? So I popped the top and popped it in my mouth, and it was so fresh because it was like, you can't get no fresher than that, right? So I chew it up and swallow it. And 15 minutes later, I'm dancing through the cow field. Bob is not far away from me and he's dancing through the field. I mean, we're like floating in the field. And he looked at me and he goes, "You found one too, huh?" He. And I went, "Yeah, I did too. He. So hours had passed because his wife had been driving up and down the road. We were supposed to jump the fence and meet her on the highway. She'd been driving up down the road for God knows how long, and we're tripping through the field, literally, just ding, 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 literally dancing through this cow field, right? But the thing is Bob would go, "Can you hear him talking?" And I said, like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I think there's one over there." And I said, "I think you're right." I said, "You want to look?" "No, you go ahead." And I'd go over and we'd pick this little spot out, and down in the tall grass, there'd be this little clump of mushrooms. So all day long, I don't know how long we were in the field, but we took the mushrooms and they would literally lead us to other mushrooms. It's the strangest experience, let me tell you. But anyway, so it's been almost 4 hours, and I swore I wasn't going to do this, but I love you all. I really have to go. So y'all, please be safe. Bison poop, huh? Yeah, and I gave up on mushrooms, a while back, but I've got a place down here that there's all kinds of mushrooms growing right now in the backwoods, and Ken's been at my backwoods. There's all kinds of mushrooms that grow back there, and some of them are quite edible. So but I've got a great big glass. It's a big ass aquarium, right? And I want to turn it into a terrarium, and it would be perfect for growing mushrooms in. But it has been very low on my what needs to be done around here. But I do have this big aquarium that I need to move soon, and I need to do something with it. Turkey tail is a cancer fighter. I'll have to look that up, Barry. Remind me if I forget, will you? Right now, I'm a little stoned and very tired, so but I would like to remember that one because I've seen that one grow around here. But I will forget. So, but anyway, I love you all. Please be safe. Whatever you take, be sure you know what you're taking. Okay, just be safe. There are some folks that are peddling some stuff, and I would be very careful. Just be careful. Lion's mane and my Mary Poppins kind of days. Yep, Tracy. Yep, it is. So, but just be careful out there. As they used to say on Hill Street Blues, be careful out there because there's a lot of stuff. And Greenie, you be safe. Tracy, is be safe. Always Barry and anybody else that's back there that I forgot. I continue to pray each and every day, and it's been beautiful weather down here at the moment. Uh, that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings that are there in the universe. All we got to do is just accept them. Each and every day that I put my 2 feet on the ground and me and Duggar go outside to walk, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn, to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, 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 many blessings in the universe. And in that law of three that has been very important to me, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all those folks you may come in contact with will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe, and that you continue to reject those things which are just chaos in your life. Thank you, Maverick. thank you all for your conversation and a lot of stuff that you have come up with and discussed with me tonight. I have literally over the years have considered this. They're all great ideas. I mean that. And if I had some honest to God tools to work with other than a shovel, I would have done some of this stuff. Tracy, be safe. Y'all be good. Thank you, Barry. We'll talk soon. And y'all be safe, okay? Keep it between the dishes, as we say down here in South Georgia. So TTFN, ta for now. And now that we're all on the same time, I want to thank you, Bob, and to the AI for letting us be here tonight, and for YouTube and everybody. We appreciate it. We do, for having a place to come and hang out and be with each other. So, you know, we'll get together soon, and be safe, y'all. Cheers. We love you. Cosmic hugs. Bye.